2, 1. And there you go.
All good. Spot on it. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody watching at home. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you might be watching this back as well. And good morning, Hatham. Thank you for jumping on with us this morning, buddy.
Right.
I'm just grabbing the stream up on my end so I can keep an eye on the chat this morning. Of course, as always, if you're watching along live and you've got any questions or anything that you want to just hide in the chat, go for it. Me and Hatham will sort of keep an eye on it throughout as we do.
Yeah. Got Gary in the chat straight away there.
Gary, ready to go, man. Ready to go like a coiled spring. He was just ready. Morning, guys. Hope you're doing all right, buddy. Missed him on the drop-ins this week. Actually, he was he'd been whisked off into the dentist. Right. So that's the thing at the minute, though, isn't it? Trying to get appointments. Like it's something that we've talked about in the past. Trying to get appointments. Like it's either like we can get you in like in 5 minutes time or in like six months. Yeah, yeah. Take your pick, like either drop everything and come now, or we'll see you when we see you, sort of
or
thing.
Just get the string out and just pull your teeth out with the door handle, like.
Maybe, actually, maybe.
Or get like all metal teeth, like you're a gangster rapper, or Jaws from James Bond. If anyone remember Jaws.
I can't actually. I was showing our age there, but. Okay, guys, so where are we this morning? So we're going to sort of build on what we were looking at last week, where we started talking about the idea of circuit training, and of course it's starting to design your own circuit cards, making sure we're getting plenty of information on there, making sure we're covering, of course, name of the exercise, what muscles it's going to use, what kit they're expecting to use and stuff like that. But I think really last week we were talking, as much as anything, we were just sort of summing up how helpful circuit training can be, kind of regardless of what your goals are. You know, when we've talked about components of fitness before, you know, you think muscular endurance. Okay, we can gear a circuit up to obviously test your muscular endurance and develop it. You know, we can do a circuit that's going to work on sort of like explosive power. You know, if you go sort of explosive, you might up your rest time a little bit more, and make sure that you're a little bit fresher going into that next set, or just think about like the order of exercises a little bit more. I think we'd sort of circled and came back to this sort of realization that probably the only thing I wouldn't recommend circuits for goal-wise would be just outright strength training. You know, if you're like trying to literally, like I'm talking like powerlifting here, you know, like them guys that eat like 8,000 calories a day, just the more mass you've got, the more you're going to be able to move as well. But
you're not really doing many movements with that kind of training, are you? It's like high rate, low reps.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you might go in, you might pick up a bar, you might do whatever the exercise is once, 3 times, maybe it's maximum of 5.
Yeah.
You know,
5's definitely the most.
Yeah.
1 to 3, I think, when you see them train, like that seems to be what they do. But it's 1 to 3 of your absolute, like, you basically you kind of move. After that 3, there's nothing left in the tank.
Yeah. To the point where you almost need 5, if not more, minutes rest before you go again.
Yeah.
So the idea of jumping straight into another exercise in your circuit or something like that, you know, you're not really giving yourself a chance to recover. You're not going to be able to manage that maximum weight. But something that we sort of have talked about the last couple of weeks, buddy, as well, is what people actually think about when they think about strength training. You know, like 9 out of 10 people that say to you, like, I'd like to be stronger, mean that they would just like to be able to, I don't know, put something up in the loft a little bit easier, or like clear out the garage a little bit easier, you know, something like that. Yeah. Carry more carrier bags when you're going shopping, so you don't have to do 2 trips to the car.
Always
exactly. One trip or bus, buddy. You know the score.
Never ever 2 trips.
Exactly, you know, just if you leave stuff, it just stays in the boot, doesn't it? Just that'll do. We'll get that whenever. You know, so we're thinking about our definition of strength training as well, and thinking about, okay, do we sort of have this clear idea what we mean when we say I'd like to get a little bit stronger? Because if all you do want to do is be able to pick up things that are a little bit heavier, a little bit easier, you know, you can get that from circuit training. You know, you can maybe do, I don't know, like 1 weighted exercise where you'll do your kettlebell swing or whatever it might be. You might only do 8 reps or something like that. Then you might move on to something else that doesn't use any of those muscles. So next time you come back to your kettlebell swings, you are going to be fresh again, you know, and you will sort of get stronger. If you've ever done hypertrophy training, which is pretty much training for size rather than strength, you'll have noticed straight away one of the side effects of that is that you get stronger anyway. You know, it does sort of naturally happen, because weights that you find challenging one week, eventually your body adapts to that weight and you do need to go that little bit heavier, whether you're doing circuits or whether you're doing straight sets, so circuits should and probably could be fit into most people's training. Same again, we mentioned this idea of if you're just doing your cardio, and like we've said, we should all be doing some form of cardiovascular exercise, making sure that our lungs and heart are working, not just the muscles that we can tense and flex in the mirror. We've got to make sure that we're working on all those other muscles as well. So circuit training could be a really sort of easy thing to just sort of plug into your training, So we're going to be having a bit of a look at the way that we can structure our circuits. We're going to be looking at the ways that we can use certain kit, and of course how to take care of that kit as well, make sure that it's safe to use. And like I say, we'll be starting to get a bit of an idea of what your circuit's going to look like. So over the next week after this session, you can go away and actually start to plan it and start getting them circuit cards actually done. So yeah, just sort of circling back to last week. Of course, we were looking at body weight exercises because, of course, we can do exercises with kit. We can do exercises without any kit. That's just our own body weight. If you've ever done press-ups, planks, squats, you know that they can be challenging without needing a load of kit, kettlebells, dumbbells, resistance bands, all of that. But, of course, the circuit, the beauty of the circuit, because it's going to be X amount of different exercises, we can use this blend, some of them with kit, some of them without. And it can be really flexible as well. If you've got 10 stations, you've got 10 exercises, you might say to yourself, right, I'm going to do 30 seconds of exercise, 15 seconds of rest between exercises. And then each week you can just pick 10 different exercises, keep it relatively fresh for yourself, keep it sort of engaging, keep it interesting. And then you're not thinking about just doing the same thing over and over again, So just keeping it engaging, because I don't know about you, buddy. I find it can get pretty monotonous pretty quick if you're doing the same exercises week in, week out. We have both sort of talked over the last couple of weeks again, about this idea of just sort of if you're following your strict bodybuilding split, it can get a little bit monotonous. It can get a little bit boring. It can be a good way to get used to training and following a program, but yeah, sooner or later, this idea of do chest on a Monday, back on a Tuesday, shoulders on a Wednesday, or whatever it might be, it can get pretty, your body will adapt pretty quickly. So you need to change it up anyway.
Yeah.
And of course, just in terms of keeping it interesting for yourself, I've quite often got to the point where I knew what I was supposed to be training, like, today's legs day. And then I'm going to have a think about, okay, what exercises am I feeling? What do I feel like I could really throw myself?
I think the one thing to bear in mind, and a lot of people fall foul of this, is maybe try and work it out. So you're not training like the same thing. Maybe it's 2 days in a row. Like if say you've been for a run, or you've been for, like, I don't know, like a long walk or whatever, don't go and blast your legs the day after, probably, or the day before. Definitely. If you know you're going out and doing some like pretty strenuous cardio, it's probably not the greatest idea to go and smash like a bunch of squats and deadlifts and that, because you'll get up and you won't be able to move.
Exactly, mate. Yeah.
You're just asking for like your knees and your ankles and everything else to take all that extra strain. You want to try and think about it, or maybe even sack off going for a run and go swimming or something instead.
Yeah, or just a leisurely little stroll and like stretch your legs out a little bit, get that blood sort of flowing around them again.
Especially after a big, like, I don't know, half an hour, 40-minute circuit or whatever. If you do one of them classes, like a MetaFit class or something, or like functional fitness. Sometimes
like that sort of thing, functional fitness.
Where it's basically every exercise in the world, and you just do it until you die, pretty much.
Yeah, and then a little bit more.
Yeah, and then you do a little finisher at the end for like 5 minutes or whatever. But yeah, in my experience, not great to do anything really strenuous the day after that. That might be the day to do arms. The day after you've done a 40-minute circuit might be the day I'm just going to do biceps and triceps for 30 minutes and then go home.
Yeah, just a nice little easy one to do. Yeah, or like you say, especially if you are using a gym or a leisure centre or something like that that's got the pool, that's a good shout to go for a swim and just try and loosen up a little bit. I used to really enjoy, if not at the end of the session, certainly the next day going in and using obviously the hot tub and the steam room and the sauna and stuff.
Oh, yeah, that stuff's great for you. But even if you've got just a bath, have a bath.
Exactly. Yeah.
Stretching, all that sort of stuff, you get your recovery in. But if anyone, back to what you were saying before, if anyone's in any doubt that you can get like absolutely shredded to pieces doing circuits, just go and look at the CrossFit athletes. And strong is the point with them, is like they've got a ridiculous strength and endurance. It's like the professional CrossFitters.
Yeah.
They're in another league, and obviously you're probably not aiming for that, but it is possible. It's not something that's out of reach to be strong and have good endurance.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of them, the idea of wherever your stance is on CrossFit, a lot of them have got like the strength, but the aerobic endurance as well, haven't they? That cardiovascular endurance because of the way that the training is sort of structured. So this idea of, a mix of, right, we're doing some weights, we're doing some body weight sort of stuff, we're changing it up, we're not resting very much, we're keeping an eye on what weights we're using, how much rest we're having, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's no reason that you can't just transfer all of that into your circuit training.
Well, I think circuit training is good because you can have alternatives like what you did in the videos. Like that's basically how CrossFit works. Like you come in as a beginner and you don't go in and do like all the like muscle ups where you're dragging yourself up on the bar and stuff in the first week, because that's just ridiculous. No one could do that in week one. So it's the same with the circuit you did where you've got a range of exercises for different levels, or like, someone's got a really bad injury, so they can't really do that, but they can do this instead. That circuit training, you can always make a reasonable adjustment, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
Whereas if you can't do bench press or like the seated one, like the chest machine, you're a bit knackered really if you just want to do chest and biceps, or chest and triceps even. Like you limit yourself.
Yeah.
Circuits
Definitely
can bring in a lot more like variety content.
Yeah, definitely, and not just that, but like different angles, different exercises as well. Like you say, buddy, this idea of, okay, like you could literally do a circuit that's 10 exercises entirely on your legs if you were a little bit of a sadist. If you're really that way inclined and wanted to, you could do a full circuit on your legs. Where you might do, I don't know, sort of feet close together squats, side lunges, glute bridge, feet wide apart squats, kettlebell swings, jumps.
All the horrible stuff.
Mate, you're showing your nasty streak there, man.
If anyone's not done a jump lunge before, good luck. Have a go. Do 10 and then let me know how you get on, because 10's about as all I can muster at the minute.
Yeah, and
the burn.
10 will do you. Exactly, buddy, and then of course like recovering from that as well. But just in that little circuit, what was that, 6 exercises all on your legs? We can hit so many different angles and stimulate muscle from so many different sort of angles that it's going to be potentially, I would say like a good leg circuit could probably hit more muscle fibers for sure and stimulate more growth than like, okay, I'm going to do the leg press 3 sets of 10, then I'm going to go over and do the leg extension 3 sets of 10, because it's all machines. And of course they're really, really good for beginners if you're not sure what it should feel like, what muscle you should be firing from. But that is where we say, of course, like a machine is guiding sort of the weights and guiding the sort of range of motion for you.
Yeah, so, it's a funny one with legs specifically. I mean, I know your upper body works that way, but I don't know about you. In the past, I've had problems with certain parts. So obviously, you've got like your quads and your hamstrings and your calves, but specifically your quads and your hamstrings have like different parts. Like your hamstring isn't one muscle; it's all different bits in it, and different parts get strong and different parts get weak depending on what you do. So I have like quite a big imbalance in like my hamstring and quad strength, but it's different parts. So like the outer hamstrings are quite weak, so they would always be prone to like injury. So like every time I'd just try and slow down too quickly, that's the bit that was it's a stabilizing, and then they would just go because they were like, well, I can't cope with all this weight going that way, and I'm trying to stop it. But like you don't realize when you first start training, because it's just like, oh well, I'm just going to hit my legs. What does that mean? Oh well, I'm just going to do squats. Oh well, then I guess whatever's going to get strong, and the rest of it sort of falls by the wayside.
Of course, yeah. Which is, of course, again where a good variety comes in.
Yeah, so the circuits really help with stuff like that, especially like you don't then have to learn every different part of your muscle. You just do this horrible exercise and it gets better.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to do any science or anything like that. Do you know what I mean?
You slowly get better at it. Yeah, definitely. And that's a really good thing to point out, buddy, as well. That we have certain muscles that we think of as its own muscle that is a collection of smaller muscles. Bicep is 2 separate muscles, tricep is 3, quadricep is obviously 4. The hamstring's 3 big muscles as well. And like you say, buddy, like you might do, if you were just going in and doing, say, like the same exercises week in, week out, and the only hamstring exercise you do, like a leg curl, for example, hits like one of those muscles out of the 3, If you do that week on week on week, that one muscle gets stronger, but like you say, the two either side of it don't necessarily,
Yeah.
you know, and that is where you end up with imbalances, you know.
Tightness as well. I know a lot of people have like really tight hamstrings, and that
Yeah,
causes like bad backs and stuff as well, doesn't it? So
yeah. It's normally with hamstrings, it's normally posture from the way that we stand or sit, and the way that our sort of pelvis and our back is angled. But with footballers, it's always hamstrings. It's always hamstrings because
running
it's
as
quite,
well, though,
yeah,
or even walking. Like I was talking to the physio not long ago, and he said like it's you get so your quads end up really strong when you do
yeah,
things like
yeah,
walking. So you end up with really strong quads, but your hamstrings aren't really working that hard, so
yeah,
they're weak. And then when you try and do something like more explosive, even if it's something like you quickly bend down to get something, but if you do, say you try and
mhm,
catch
mhm,
something, for example,
yeah,
you
yeah,
move and your hamstring like is so tight that that little movement just ping and it just snaps.
yeah,
And it's probably only
yeah,
a small tear, but if it can keep happening, that's the problem with them. And that's where like you say, like footballers, for example, that's the same. Like all that kicking, it's not really strengthening your hamstring. It's all quad based, and it's
yeah,
tough.
yeah, yeah. And then you think obviously you going up to head the ball, you going up the corners and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's calves and it's glutes, isn't it? You
yeah, he's
know, there's not,
driving on you from the
yeah,
floor up, sort of
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, there's not much hamstring engagement in those sort of movements, you know. So yeah, we've got to get a good mix in, and then you might sort of take that information and you might say, okay, I do a lot of running, I do a lot of walking, I do a lot of football. I'm going to make my circuit sort of quite hamstring sort of dominant, you know. I'm going to make sure that out of my 6 exercises, 3 or 4 of them are going to be just for my hamstrings, you know, and maybe put some carbs in there or something like
Yeah,
that.
I think as long as there's an even split, I think that's my doorbell.
Is it nice, mate? Nice
I
touch.
haven't.
I like
That's been someone has
it.
sabotaged me here because that wasn't my doorbell, and now it
Oh,
is.
I'm not having it. I'm not
Right,
having
2 seconds.
that. No worries, buddy. No worries. Right, guys. So we'll think about just getting moved on while Haytham goes and sorts out his amazing doorbell. So we've got of course thinking about our body weight exercises from last week. We did talk about when it comes to our circuit cards, make sure that you know we've got anything sort of health and safety on there. Brief description how to carry out each exercise, a little picture, what muscles we use. Make sure the name of the exercise is on there as well, so people can just pair them up nice and quick and move straight on to whatever their exercise is going to be, and then not sort of stood through their working period, looking around, trying to catch your eye and say like, "Hey, can you come give us a hand? I don't have a clue what a sort of tricep press up is meant to be," or something like that, you know. So we're gonna, like I say, we're just gonna build on that this week. Talking about, like I say, how to plan a circuit training session, how to maintain our different pieces of fitness kit. Because of course, some of them quite expensive. Of course, we want to make sure that we're looking after them, getting sort of longevity, and then of course thinking about health and safety sort of stuff as well. Especially if we're thinking about having any of this kit at home. You know, if we're still in a position where we're not ready to go back to a gym yet, maybe the gym's just not for you full time. You know, and you are just going to train at home. You're happy you're training at home. We've got to think about making sure that the kit, when you're not using it, is out the way, and you're not just gonna like trip over your skipping rope while you're sort of like walking through the house with like a scalding hot cuppa or something like that, you know. Because that's heartbreak on 2 levels. You know, you're talking 3rd-degree burns and a spilled brew. You know, it's no good. It's no good. And then to finish ourselves up for this morning, we're just gonna have a little look at the skeletal muscles again, just like a little bit of a refresh from the level 1. And we're going to be making sure that we can sort of imagine and start to picture how these muscles work through different exercises that we're going to be putting in our circuits, you know, because understanding how those muscles work gives us a best idea how to sort of work them through a good range, and work them safely as well, and start to think about this idea of mind-muscle connection, you know, where it's not just right. Just again using like a chest press for an example. You're not just trying to move the weights from there to there. You're trying to do it with your pec muscles. You know, you're trying to do it specifically with those muscles, because if other muscles are doing it, the exercise isn't working right. You know, and again, thinking about where the muscles are, how they move, it'll just get you a good idea of starting to be able to think about actually engaging that muscle throughout the exercise. A little bit of tension, you know, and maybe even this idea of when you get to the end of a rep, you know, just give that muscle a little squeeze as well. You know, pump a little blood in there, get some nutrients, get some blood and some more oxygen in there as well. And like I say, it's really, really helpful for training safely. You know, this idea of where should I be feeling it? Where am I feeling it? You know, do those things line up, or have I got something that I've got to think about? And it might be technique, you know, it might just be the weight that you're using. It could be something as simple as, you know, a millimeter or a centimeter on your foot positioning.
Yeah.
You know,
Even just having a look on like YouTube and stuff. There's
mhm,
been a
mhm.
few times where I've been in the gym. I don't know if I'm doing this right, and there's been no like staff around, and I'm just like, nowadays I'm just gonna have a look. And
Yeah,
then I'd watched a few videos and thought, actually, yeah, I'm doing it right. Or actually, hang on a minute, no, I'm not.
yeah, yeah.
What's
No, I'm
going?
not.
Where's my back? Where's my arms here? They're in the totally wrong place.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You know, so yeah, this idea of being able to sort of think about what muscle you're trying to engage and engage it at the right time, you know, is totally different training to just see this big thing, I'm going to move it over there, or I'm going to pick it up a couple of times and put it back. You know, not to say that that doesn't have a lot of its own intricacies and that sort of training in itself, you know, because of course we know that strength training as well, those little small adjustments can make a big difference between getting a PB and sort of falling on your backside under the bar as well. So technique's really important no matter what it is we're doing. Mind muscle connection's really important, and of course to have that, we've got to have a pretty decent understanding of where the muscles are, how they work, and of course how we engage them, you know. Even if that just means practicing engaging them outside of exercise, you know, just this idea of, okay, you know where your bicep is, can you tense your bicep as though you were flexing? If you can do that, right, okay, can you move on? Can you get that same squeeze and that same feeling on your triceps if you wanted to? You know, could you engage it? Could you engage your calves right now if you wanted to?
Ideally,
And of
not in
course,
the mirror at the gym.
yeah,
Just FYI.
yeah,
No,
oh yeah,
nobody
yeah, yeah.
enjoys that. That's not fun for
Nobody
anyone.
enjoys that. Yeah. Do you know what? Like the mirror in the gym is so controversial because when used right, it's your best friend.
Yeah.
When you're using it to check your form, and especially if you haven't got someone with you to check your form, and make
Very
sure
good. Yes.
that you're doing everything right, it's spot on.
But
You
taking a
know.
selfie in the mirror, doing like the tricep, like, oh, no,
Yeah,
not for me.
yeah,
Not for
yeah.
me,
You know,
unfortunately.
I think the tricep one is almost sort of as overdone now
Yeah.
as the old
You
just the
sort of
bicep.
like, yeah, you do that, and you sort of like push your leg out, so you get your calf muscle in there as well. I've
Yeah,
noticed that it's like you push your tricep down, and your calf comes out as well.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
new one, instead of
yeah,
the old
yeah.
arm curl one.
Now, there is a time and a place
Yeah.
for this sort of thing. It's normally on stage in a competition.
Or at home, just do it at home.
At home?
I
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah,
see it. I'm not bothered.
yeah.
And I will
There we
say as
go, yeah.
well, women are just as guilty. Traditionally, I would have said, oh, it's like the big bodybuilder blokes. But
Hmm.
no,
Hmm.
I've actually noticed it's roughly a 50-50 split, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah,
In the gym I go to, are people who like to check themselves out and take photos.
yeah, yeah. Oh, mate.
Unashamed. I mean, you know what? Fair enough. They're proud of the body, but just not for me.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's it. It's not for
And you're in the
everybody,
way.
is it? You know?
That's the
Yeah,
main issue that I have, is like, you've got
yeah,
a pile of weights out there, and I just want to do my stuff and go home. I don't want to be
yeah.
present at your photo shoot at all, if
Yeah,
that's
like
possible.
truth be told, the changing rooms and the toilets
Yeah,
probably have
go for
mirrors
it.
in. Go there, go there, go there. Where I'm not trying to lift weights. Exactly,
Champion.
buddy.
But otherwise,
Exactly, bud.
just get out of my way.
Yeah, like I remember one gym I was working in once upon a time. There was a lad who was training for a bodybuilding competition, and I was training with Alex. Actually, I'd taken Alex in the gym, and I was sort of just putting her through a couple of little bits, and she just looked over like past my shoulder, and just went, "Is he in his is he in his pants?"
Oh,
I
no.
was like, "Surely not,
Yeah.
surely not. There's no gym member here that's going to be that daft or that confident, and surely a member of staff wouldn't." And I literally hadn't got it out my mouth, and I turned round, and it was my fellow PT
Yeah.
who was training for a bodybuilding competition on the gym floor, not even in the mirror. He was doing it for other people's benefit. Someone
Aye.
on like the leg extension or something like that.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was one of them where I didn't need to say anything because a couple of people actually went to like the higher ups and said,
Complain.
like, what is going on here? You know, like I'm bringing in, like, of course, anybody from the age of 16 can come in,
Yeah.
you know, to the gym. You've got old ladies, sort of 60, 65, 70,
I mean, you don't. To be honest,
whatever,
mate, it's not
upwards.
ideal for anyone, really. Like, it doesn't matter
No,
how
it's
old you are, where you come from, or what you're doing. Like, I don't want to
yeah,
say. I don't. That's not what I'm after.
yeah,
Just
like you say, buddy, do it at
FYI.
home. do it in the changing rooms, because if you're in a gym and the changing rooms haven't got a mirror of some description, what's going on?
You shouldn't. I'm going to say it now. If you're doing your circuit training right, you shouldn't be in any state to take a good looking photo.
Nah,
you should be head to toe drenched. That's your circuit.
Yeah. Have you seen that T-shirt? Actually, I mean, there'll be loads of them about now, but it's like this T-shirt that I think it's like a light grey, and as you sweat, it turns to a darker grey and actually brings out like a picture on the front. And when it says on the front, like, you can go home now. So when you've got to that point and you've sweat that much, it brings that through. I thought that was pretty cool. I quite like that. But I do. Like you say, buddy, there is a time and place for stuff like certainly posing and stuff like that. And it's certainly not in a mainstream gym. I can tell you that. That's for sure. Right, guys, I just seen Gaz says taking photos means you're at the gym even if you're doing nothing. So this idea of if you haven't tagged yourself in at the gym,
I don't mind a cheeky pre and post workout selfie, like that'll do.
Yeah. Do you do the check-in though, buddy? Do you do the check-in?
I don't really use social media very much, to be honest. But I don't mind it. That sort of stuff. It helps sometimes. Like, for example, when we were like, obviously there was lockdown and stuff, and like the lads were trying to keep themselves motivated in the football group, like because a lot of people struggled with like motivation. So it was good to be like when someone went on a run or whatever, they like send a photo in, or I'm at the gym today. I've tried this, and this. That was quite good. I don't mind doing that. But I think like Gary says, where people will go in and have like a geek photo shoot when they haven't really done anything, and it's just like
I mean,
it's irritating when you're trying to get onto stuff, or if you try to do a circuit, and people are just like in your way and stuff.
100%, mate. I think I tell you about them lasses that came onto the gym floor once. One of them sat on the leg press machine. A mate took a picture of her. They swapped and did the same, and then they left. I was like, was that your workout? Was it like you know full well that was on social media within like half an hour? Exactly, buddy.
All over it, that.
Exactly. So it's about the work that you're putting in, isn't it, and not about appearances when you're there. Right, guys, so let's start diving into this idea of starting to put together our own circuit training session then. So of course we're thinking about what space we've got available, be that training at home, be that training in the gym, in a community centre. Of course you might have to think about what equipment you've got available. Now, of course, for the sake of this exercise that we're doing and for your circuit cards, we can imagine that we've got all the space in the world and we've got pretty much all the kit that you might want, especially when it comes to the sort of kit that we've talked about, which sort of comes over to circuit training really well. Something else that you've got to think about that might catch you out, especially when you first start doing it, is thinking about the amount of members that are turning up or that you're expecting to turn up. It's handy to actually have a bit of a booking system where, like, no worries, buddy. I've actually been doing a circuit where I've had 10 stations out and 12 people turn up, and you're like, oh, hang on a second, I didn't really think about this. I was only expecting 8 or something, So again, having an idea of how many people are going to be turning up, how many people you need to plan for. Again, for your circuit, we're just going to assume that there is going to be one person per station, regardless how many stations you decide to go with. Don't make it any harder for yourself than you need to. In practice, I've found that, funnily enough, stuff like circuit cards, like if you've got exercise cards and a couple of extra people turn up that you're not expecting, you can just pull a couple of them out and say, like, right, a couple of bodyweight exercises. I'm not going to source any extra kit. I'm just going to put in burpees and I'm going to put in star jumps. Right, we've got 12 stations now and not 10. You don't really need to think about too much on the spot. And of course, you're sort of ready to go and you're prepared for the eventuality of more people turning up than you were expecting, really. If you're expecting more people and less people turn up, that's not such a big a problem, because you're just going to have a couple of stations that are empty from time to time. What I would do in that case, I would get people to start on consecutive stations. So eventually on their last round, sooner or later, everybody's going to be done with station 1, station 2, and you can actually start tidying it up as you go. So you're sort of following the members round. When they get to the last station or the last person gets to the last station, you've only got that kit to put away and then you're onto your finisher, onto your cool down, and you've actually not got so much to do. Rather than get to the end of your circuit You know, you do your cool down, everybody goes home, and you're still there with a load of kit to put away. I mean, it comes with the job, it comes with the territory. It's not the worst part in the world, but if you can get that one step ahead of yourself, you find it saves a little bit of time, especially if you've got another class starting straight after as well. You know, you don't want to be clearing up from your last circuit while you've got your next class coming in. You know, so just like I say, be aware of the amount of people that you're expecting turning up. Now, like I sort of mentioned earlier on, there's lots of different benefits you can get from circuit training. There's no real right or wrong way when it comes to planning your circuit training. You know, you might say, right, I'm going to do full body, and I'm going to make sure that I get a good mix of full body exercises in, you know, or you might say, right, I'm doing a upper body, or I'm doing an upper and lower body sort of mix, or, you know, we've got some up on the channel. There's one in particular, it's just abs, you know, it's just an abs workout, making sure that there's an easier option if you find it hard, so that there's something on there for everybody as well. And then, like I say, thinking about what exercises you're actually going to put in there, you know, so 10 stations, for example, we can have 2 upper body exercises, 2 lower body exercises, 2 core, and then maybe 4 cardio in there as well, you know, so we're getting a good mix of everything. So that could be, for example, shoulder press, upright row, squats and lunges, crunches, back extension, shuttle run burpees, jumping jacks, side steps, skaters. So they're almost done like, if it's not anything that you've ever come across before, you might not really pick up on it, but they're almost sort of like supersets in there. We've got shoulders, press into upright row, so that's 2 shoulder exercises back to back, squats into lunges, 2 leg exercises back to back, crunches into a back extension, although you might not think about it because they're not both abs exercises, they are both core exercises, because your back extension is going to work your lower back, supporting your spine, supporting your back, and supporting your core. So that is a core exercise, you know, which I think a lot of people, when we think of core, we just think of abs, you know, sit-ups, planks, that sort of stuff, and whereas it is all those deeper lying muscles as well. And then, of course, we've got our 4 cardio exercises in back to back, because it's Mel when she put this slideshow together, and of course I know full well Mel would have you doing 4 cardio exercises back to back, because she's an absolute weapon. And like when we train together, like I'm the nice one, like I'm the baby face, like I'm the smiling assassin most of the time, but yeah, normally like it's good cop bad cop, and I'm good cop when it comes to when I'm training with Mel, for sure. But that is just a rough idea of, you know, some exercises that we could use. I mean, what if we've got shoulder press, upright row, at least 2 in there that you're going to need some kit. You could say you could put some kit in there for your squats and your lunges as well, maybe your crunches. You could have 5 with kit, 5 without, depending if you want your squats to be weighted, if you're just going to have them body weight, because of course we can do a mix of both. If you're doing them weighted, again, think about the sort of people that you're expecting to turn up to your class. Are they going to be able to do weighted squats? Are you best off saying to everybody, do body weight squats as a default? If you're finding it a little bit easy, pick up this little 5 plate that I'm going to leave next to the station as well. Again, making sure that depending where you're at, have we got a way to make the exercise harder as well as easier, you know, and thinking about, okay, do I start with the easy option and get them to say, right, the harder one's going to be the alternative? Or do I start with the harder option and say to them, if you need to come down to the easier option, do it that way instead? You know, and again, that can just be decided by having an idea who's going to turn up, what their abilities are. Because, of course, a benefit of running these sort of classes ongoing, you start to build up a little member base, you get used to the same people turning up, you get an idea what their abilities are, what their goals are, and you can even start to fine-tune your circuit that way a little bit more, you know. Maybe you're just doing this circuit, you know, outside doing the circuit cards, maybe it's for your own benefit, you know. Maybe you're going to be thinking to yourself, right, I'm going to use these circuit cards at home, I want this circuit to be something that's going to benefit me, you know. So you might be putting it together and thinking about yourself and thinking about your own sort of abilities as well, and sort of fine-tuning it to your own sort of needs and stuff like that. Okay, guys, cool. So we will have a look at the workbook at the end of the session, but just when it comes back to when it comes time to sort of working through your workbook, filling yours in. If you do need to come back to this session and refresh on anything, of course we can come back to here, and we're going to be working on completing task 1.3, which is planning your own circuit session and identifying which equipment you intend to use, using the description and name as well. So we can see that we've got circuit, we've got sort of exercise 1 can go in the left hand column, and then in the right hand column we can say or in the left-hand circuit, sorry, we might say whatever kit we're going to use, body weight or kettlebell or whatever. In the right-hand column, we can say what the exercise is going to be, and then a little bit of a description underneath it as well.
Yeah, and the workbook's just in the description of the video.
Yeah, cool. You should have it already by now. Yeah, we have looked at it. We've looked at it the last couple of weeks, but we haven't really started anything yet. So it has been sort of available there in the description for the last couple of sessions. But by all means, if you still do need to pull that down, it is in the description as well. Cheers, buddy.
There's Wib in the chat.
I've just spied Wib sneaking in the chat as well. Morning, buddy. Hope you're well, mate. Hope you're well. Right, guys. Wib, I know you've already done this. I remember I actually sat in on the last session of some of the circuit cards that you did knock up. I remember you doing them with Mel, and they were absolutely bang on. You know, I'm not sure whether you still use them, whether we've actually got them. If you want us to try and dig them out and send them back, maybe, you know, so you can try and find some circuits that you can do for yourself. But of course, if you've done this already, and you sort of in the chats and in the comments section, then, you know, again, reflect now. What has changed since the last time you did this? What has changed since you did your circuit cards? Would your circuit need to be the same? Maybe you've picked up a little niggle or an injury that you need to think about, or maybe your goals have changed. You know, maybe your goals have changed altogether, and you're going to have a rethink on your circuit. So yeah, maybe still have a little bit of a think about what sort of training you could be doing based on the sort of stuff that we're talking about. Right, guys, so we're just going to move on and have a little bit of a look at some of the resistance bands and making sure that we're using them safely. You know, we have talked a couple of weeks ago about the bits of kit that we can use, what we can use them for. But again, if we're going to be using them at home, if you're going to be investing in some of this kit, or, you know, maybe you're going to be in a position where you are providing kit to members and people that are turning up, you know, at the end of the day, as the fitness instructor, the responsibility falls on you to make sure that your kit is sort of safe and good for use. You're going to have malfunctions, you know. It comes back to that idea of this just reducing hazards and reducing risks and just reducing them as much as we can, pretty much, you know. For example, if we're going to jump in and start using a resistance band, make sure that there's no sort of rips, no nicks in them already, because it's the beginning of the end when you get a nick in your resistance band. You know, it's a little bit heartbreaking, really. It's like that. It's like, okay, I know that this has only got so much time left, and I can only
take one in the face as well, probably.
Exactly, buddy. You know, I snapped on a mine not so long ago doing like a bent over row. I had my foot. It was one of the looped ones, and I had it around my foot, but I was bending over and pulling the opposite side upwards towards the ceiling, and it just stretched a nick, and a little tear. And it's the same as with a muscle, you know, a little tear so becomes a big tear and a total rip, you know. And like you say, depending on what you're doing, you might be in prime position to just take that clean in the eye, you know, which is totally unwanted. You know, it's never a good thing. You know, maybe you might be doing stuff like if you've got it around your wrists or around your forearms and you're doing pull aparts, maybe it's for your rear delts. If it snaps there, you know, you're gonna know about it. Yeah, you're gonna just get you're gonna have like a twang mark across your forehead, aren't you? You're gonna be coming out looking like Elmer Fudd with his headband on.
Gonna look good, like.
No, definitely not. So we're thinking about rips, broken handles as well, or just certain like uncomfortable handles that might like sort of nip the skin, dig into your skin, or anything like that as well. Thinking about how we're using the resistance band as well with some of them. Are they looped? Are they therabands? That sort of thing. Because of course that'll determine what exercises they're sort of best suited to. Different colours usually indicate different level of resistance. Sorry, so I've got a couple here actually. So I've got me blue one that died a death not so long ago. That's sort of like the middle tension out of that little set, and then there is the wherever it is, somewhere it's in there. There's a purple one that's obviously a good bit harder to pull, and then you can either work up to that on the same, like on one particular exercise. You can say, okay, I'm going to use the blue one for now. I want to build up and get to the purple one. Or you can say to yourself, right, I can use the lighter one for smaller muscles. I might use that one for sort of like isolations, biceps, shoulders, that sort of thing. And then I might use the harder one, or the one with a bit more resistance. That might go around your legs for your leg session. With legs being a bigger muscle group, there's going to be more power in them sort of naturally anyway, So thinking about what color resistance band we're using, and make sure that it's sort of like the same as picking the right weight for an exercise, isn't it? You want to make sure that your form's going to be good throughout.
You want to over or underdo it.
Yeah, it's going to be challenging certainly by the time you get to your last couple of reps as well. If you finish a set, say you've got 10 reps to do, you get to 10 and you feel like you've got another couple in the tank, that was normally my indicator to either move myself or somebody else up to the next increment, whatever it was, even if that was, like we talked about before, just sliding a little 0.5 on either side of the bar and saying, well, it's not a huge jump, but it's a little step forward, which is, of course, progress in itself. Resistance bands, normally they don't take up much space. You're going to be able to chuck them in a storage box, or either just hang them up on a little nail or something like that. Like I say, mine's just in this little box that sits behind me. It's got all my fitness kit in, foam roller, and my little sort of lacrosse ball that I use for getting into like shoulders and trap muscles and stuff like that, mate. You know yourself, mate. They're an absolute godsend. You don't realize until you've done it. Not only that it can be so beneficial, but like also that something that like can hurt, can lead to exactly in the long run. My advice to anybody when they're doing that sort of thing, even like a lot of stretching, a lot of muscle release that they haven't worked for a while, what you're probably doing, you're probably going to be releasing a lot of toxins into your system that's sort of been trapped in that muscle, in tears in that muscle. That's just going to go into your system without plenty of water and without plenty of sort of recovery and chance to recover. Your body's going to have a hard time dealing with that, and you can actually end up feeling pretty ill. Maybe you've actually been for physio in the past and they've worked on like a frozen shoulder or like a neck where you've had whiplash or something like that, because of course that's kind of the first thing they do. If you do get whiplash, they send you off to a physio. I've had physio for exactly that before, and like I say, it can really sort of release a lot of those toxins, but you've got to help your body get rid of them as well. Plenty of water to flush them through. Out. Yeah, otherwise you can just feel absolutely lousy. It's a strange one, like it really is. And it wasn't anything that I'd considered before I started PTing and started thinking about, how the body works a little bit more. So yeah, any clients that I've had over the years, when they're foam rolling, when they're stretching, when they're getting physio, they are drinking plenty of water to just flush the system through, as we should be doing anyway. But we do need that. We do need that little bit more. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that was resistance bands. Onto the old fitness step, the old step-a-size, the old aerobic special. I remember when the Wii Fit was all the rage. I remember doing a step aerobics class on the Wii Fit at one point, and of course that translates pretty well, because Wii Fit was pretty much a fancy one of them anyway. So what are we looking for when we get out our step before either we use it or we let somebody else use it? Of course, we're looking for cracks either in the plastic or in the rubber on the top. We're thinking about the rubber surface. Is it attached? It's all well and good that it's going to give you grip when you land on it, but if it's not stuck to the plastic underneath, you might come back over.
Take a wobble and
exactly, just like someone ripping the rug out from underneath you, quite literally, And again, if you're doing stuff like box jumps or step jumps where you're coming up onto the step with both feet at the same time, you need that to be a good, solid, firm landing rather than like landing and you're away backwards. I'm sure we've all seen the fail videos where someone tries to do a box jump that's just that much too high, and next thing you know, they're going back over, and not only that, but all the boxes have been pushed that way and are scattered across the gym, making a hell of a racket, and everybody's looking at this point. So of course we want to avoid that if we can. Checking that your feet are going to be sort of even, and making sure that the steps on the underneath the steps, so we can see on the picture there that we've got this almost sort of like purple, it's almost like a purple pillow, that just boosts it that little bit higher. Of course it's a lot more firm than a pillow, but that is what it is. And if you're training at home, again, not for box jumps, never box jump onto something that's not stable, but if you do need a little bit of height, for example, say if you're doing sort of like a a lunge where and it's got 2 on it, you know, so they're working to be a little bit higher. Like that doesn't necessarily mean they're working harder. They might just be taller. Do you know what I mean? Like, it might just be a case of that's where they need to be for certainly their own sort of biology and their own biomechanics and stuff like that. But we can just use that to lift it a little bit higher. And these are probably going to be sort of stored together. The steps stack on top of each other really well. Of course, the feet stack on top of each other really well because they're designed to sort of get underneath and give you that little bit extra height as well. The last thing that you'd probably want to think about is the surface area that you're putting the step onto. You know, again, the step might be really secure. Everything might be locked in and lining up the way that it should. But of course, if the surface underneath isn't flat, isn't secure, you're going to be thinking about, you know, potentially falling off. And thinking about either side of the step as well. Have you got space to fall off if you do fall off? You know, it's being sort of prepared for the worst. I wouldn't necessarily go into a set thinking that you are going to fall off. If you're that convinced that you're going to fall off, make it lower. Do you know what I mean? Just
that, that's where you need that confidence about you saying, like, about what muscles you're engaging.
Yeah. But what you don't want to be doing is jumping, falling off for whatever reason, and then you've got a barbell there, you've got a kettlebell over there, you've got somebody skipping over there, you know, so not only do you fall, but you get like a good Indiana Jones whip round the face on the way down as well. Yeah, and you know about that as well. So yeah, thinking about the space that we're using, especially, you know, like I say, worst case scenario is that we come off. Like I say, we're doing everything we can to reduce that, but you know, it is a possibility, so we want to make sure that you're not falling onto other stuff as well, you know. Same idea as this, the emergency stop on a treadmill. You know, if it works, you're still going to fall. You're just not going to hit a moving conveyor belt on your way down, which, you know, it's not necessarily going to hurt your pride, help your pride or your ego, but it's certainly going to help your face when you're landing that conveyor belt's not moving, that's for sure. So same again, anything that we might fall off, we're trying not to, but we're also clearing the area just in case we do, and making sure we've got ample sort of space. Okay, so dumbbells. Moving on. Just saying Wib in the chat. Yes, send them. I think Alan Walton. Okay, cool. So you've done the exercise cards. Yeah, I thought you had. I'll have a word with Mel and try and dig out where they've got to. You know, and it might just give you something that you can follow at home where we can get some exercise in. You know, that you've actually planned for yourself, that you're not needing to think about every single time. You know, so I'll do a little bit of digging and see if I can find where those are, but. Okay, guys, cool. So, dumbbells, of course, really handy. You can store them a lot easier than barbells. I would argue. You know, depending on how you get them. You know, you might even get them in a dumbbell tree where they're sort of preloaded like these, and then you've got pair of 2s, pair of 4s, all the ways up to, I don't know, maybe 10s, and then that'll just sit over to one side, and then you can just grab the weights off them when you need to. In theory. If you're in a working gym, you can guarantee you'll go up to it and like there'll be like one of the 6s will be there and like the other one will be,
and one will be on the floor. And
if they're there at all.
With another one. And,
yeah. Someone's taken like one of the 10s, not both of them, just one of them, and you know you need both. You know, so if they've made it back to the dumbbell tree at all, they're not necessarily going to be in the right place. If you've got one of these yourself at home, of course you can make sure that everything goes back properly as well, and like I say, they're not going to take up that much space. A dumbbell tree could be a little bit more expensive than you might think. Like they really can start to add up depending on if you get branded, if you're getting what sort of make you're getting. Are they plastic, are they metal, are they filled with sand, that sort of thing, you know. But so that's something that you could look into. But yeah, dumbbells at home, you know, they're normally going to be sort of stored on a rack, or worst case scenario, they're going to be in just in a box. You know, if you've got like some lighter weights. I remember when me and Mel used to do the classes over at Bede, I remember I actually just had like a box of fitness kit that like lived in the car. You know, because I was living at home. Yeah, oh yeah. Like I was living at home with my mum and dad, so like they didn't want us to be like just coming in and hoying it in the hallway and just grabbing it on my way out when I was gonna need it. You know, like I said, it just lived in the car. Did wonders for me fuel economy, mate. You know, blasting around with an extra 100 kilograms in the car, and you know,
so was just like
back ends like that, like sparks when you go over a speed bump and stuff like that. Yeah. That was when I had the coupe as well, so it was already pretty damn low.
But speed bumps.
Yeah. I remember, like I say, opening the door to the community centre, letting people in, letting them start the warm up, and I would be sort of backwards and forwards to the car, just grabbing boxes, you know, and getting little bits out, even if that was just the 2 kilograms, the 4 kilograms. Because again, something that we mentioned before, if you're working in a circuit and you're doing a lot of reps, working for 30 seconds, 45, 60, you don't need to go too heavy. Like you would be better off getting a lighter weight and doing more reps than just getting one that's really heavy, doing like 5 of them and then spending like 30 seconds of your rest time just sort of stood around and hurting, you know, and just like, oh, I'm resting before I do my next lot. So yeah, even just like a little box will do if you've got like just a handful of these sort of, maybe you've acquired them, you know, the amount of gyms that have gone quiet or sold kit over the last year as well, you know. So yeah, there's something we could think about investing in for at home. I would probably say look at resistance bands, you know, for the jobs that they can do when you know what you're doing with them. You know, as like you've got like lashing out a tenner for like a couple of different resistance bands, or 150 quid for, you know, 2 kilograms up to 10s, you know. I'm looking forward to getting through and actually getting my hands on them ones that are next door and giving them a go, because I've never used them.
The adjustable ones are good. Like they're handy, very compact. Obviously, they've got such a range of weight. I think it goes down to 5 and then all the way up to 42.
Nice.
So it's good, very good. But obviously, they were like 3. Wow, I don't know. I haven't priced them up recently, but the prices keep going up and then down and up and then down. But
yeah. Of course, they tend to be a little bit more expensive. Convenience, you know, they'll take.
The thing is, I don't even know if they're actually any more expensive than, because imagine how much it would cost you to buy, like
everything up to 42.
Everything up to 42 would that, I reckon that would run you up a couple of grand. That like easy.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether it's even any. It's probably cheaper. Obviously, you only get 2 dumbbells then, so you can't have like a full gym with it. But if you're working out from home or you've got a small gym like that, there's no need to have the full like rack on the wall taking up all that space and all that weight on the floor as well.
Exactly, bud, exactly. You know, so there are ways we can work around the space that they can take up. There are ways that you can sort of address the cost if you were using them at home. Of course, for argument's sake, when you're running this hypothetical circuit, you've got all the free hypothetical kit in the world that you want, you know. So we don't necessarily need to think about that too much. Just something to consider, you know, if you are thinking about seriously training at home for the foreseeable future, rather than going back to a gym or going to a gym sort of at all, you know. You could always just look at some different sort of fitness classes as well.
Camps exist as well. I mean, they've existed long before COVID, where you do outdoor work, and it's a lot of it's just body weight, really. Or every now and then, like, you know, you've got Rob dragging the 100-kilogram box in, but with like some 10 dumbbells in, or maybe some plates or some ropes or something. Like that. Dead basic.
Yeah. I used to have a field day doing
running though, which isn't exactly fun. Like
exactly. Yeah. I used to have an absolute field day doing boot camp on a Sunday morning, because we did it before the gym opened. So all the kit we had available, all the space we had available. When the weather was nice, I could open the door, like the fire door, and we could use the outside area. So like 1 minute you're on like the leg press machine, and then next thing you're outside doing like sled pushes up and down, you know, or tire flips or whatever it might be. You know, so
I mean, even
get really creative.
I've seen people just take a couple of Olympic bars out from the gyms and just do like an outdoor session with that.
Yeah.
As well, I've seen people do it on a track where like they'll run a lap and then it's like 10 that are cleans or whatever. And
yeah, we're getting very crossfitty there, aren't we? Yeah,
it's not fun, like, but it'd be a very good workout.
It works. You know,
it's like an Olympian workout, really.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, leave the barbell weighted like on the start line every time you get round. Yeah, that's pretty brutal. Yeah, definitely.
They're the killers.
Yeah, there's a lot of different stuff you can do out there. Maybe the gym's not for you, maybe that is an informed decision. Maybe that's just how you feel. And like we say, there's stuff like boot camps out there. There's all the different fitness classes that we've looked at in depth on the level 1. We're talking Zumba, we're talking HIIT, we're talking like boxercise, we're talking legs, bums, and tongues, that sort of thing.
They're all circuits though, really, aren't they? Like
a lot of them are.
Like that is just a circuit, really.
A lot of them are, yeah. And you can actually go along, or even just YouTube them, look at different ones, and you can see how they're structured in different ways based on what the benefit of the class is supposed to be. So that is something you could look into as well a little bit. How does a legs, bums, and tongues circuit differ to body pump? How do they look different? Can you maybe have a little bit of a guess at why they're done differently now that we understand components of fitness and stuff like that as well? So a lot of different options that we've got. The first place that I would go to wouldn't necessarily be investing in a load of dumbbells, but like I say, just making sure that if we are using them, and if we're using them for our circuit that we're planning, we're checking them for wear and tear. Are they cracked? I've actually had dumbbells before where they're supposed to be like this, but they're metal, so they're one unit. You're not supposed to be able to unscrew the end and change the weights, and then like all of a sudden you get halfway through shoulder press and you realize that one's rattly as hell, and you're like, oh, okay, that needs tightening up. I probably should have checked that before I started pushing this weight directly above my own head. That's something to think about as well. So checking for wear and tear. Some are actually going to be filled, like I mentioned earlier on, filled with sand, and can actually start to leak, especially if they're getting dropped. And we did have that quite a lot as well, because the ones that we used to use at WeFit when I was training with Mel, they were plastic weights filled with sand, and they get cracks in them.
A bit old school in it, but it still happens.
Yeah. Sooner or later, like you're 10 kilograms down to 5 kilograms.
And you've covered the beach on the floor.
Exactly, yeah, so you're thinking to yourself, like, I don't know why I didn't think of that, just empty all the 20 plates, tie them all on either end of the bar, and just look really strong. I should have just done that.
With the shells.
Yeah, definitely. Someone else like, oh, can I have a go? Like, nah, you wouldn't be able to manage, yeah, as a slight breeze comes along and blows it away. Yeah, definitely. But then again, you're thinking about if it's leaking, if you press it above your head and you're like, feel something on your head and you're like, oh, what's that? And you look up and you get sand in your eye. Mate, I've seen it done. I've seen it done halfway through a rep. You look up, what on earth's that? Sand in the eye. And then next thing you know, you're not only like sand in your hair and on your clothes, but of course, sand in your eye, you're visually impaired. You've got to like put it down. Of course, thinking about making sure you don't knock yourself or somebody else out on the way down, which, it might actually be... it might not be your main focus at the time, although it should be. You get sand in the eye, you don't think about it, and next thing you know, you've got a barbell across the back of your neck or a dumbbell across the back of your neck as well.
Or it on your foot.
Exactly, definitely something to think about with there as well. We're just making sure that they're as they should be. They're not cracked, they're not split, they're not leaking, they're not going to fall to bits. Because at the end of the day, it's either liable to fall on your head, your chest, or your foot, depending on what your exercise is that you're doing, really. So yeah, definitely stuff to watch out for there when it comes to the dumbbell. When it comes to the skipping rope, we're going to be looking for stuff like, is the rope frayed? Are the handles firmly attached? Are they going to come flying off halfway through? Because although a skipping rope, really, especially if a handle comes off, you'd think like, right, it's just going to fall to the floor. If if a rope snaps when it's under tension, it can lash out quite sort of nastily as well. So we're thinking about checking that it's frayed, checking that the handles are firmly attached. And then I guess the main thing with the skipping rope is when we're done with it, we're going to make sure that we sort of wrap it up, tied in a bit of a knot, not like tied in a knot, but just sort of bunched up quite loosely. And can be sort of, again, put in a box, hung up on a peg, whatever it might be, over a hook, on a shelf even, as long as they're sort of tied up. That used to get me more than anything when you used to go to sort of like, we used to have like a boxing area in the gym. Just back in time for a rant, buddy.
Speaking of cramp, I got bad cramp in my car.
Did you really?
I lifted my leg a little bit and I was just like, no.
It's just like, oh, Hatham's done. Hatham's done. He's off.
Oh my God,
he's
off.
Bad,
that, like.
Are you good, mate? Are you good?
Had a quick stretch.
Yeah, plenty of stretching, buddy. So I was I was just on about there. One of my pet peeves was like I could spend an afternoon in the gym squaring up the boxing section. Like, oh, the pads are nice, the gloves are nice. I've got all the skipping ropes put away nice. The floor mats are away nice and tidy. And you come back like at the end of the day doing like the once round the gym, and every single skipping rope untied, like at best.
Like balled up and thrown away.
Yeah. But all thrown onto the shelf that they've come from. So you've essentially got like a snake's nest of skipping ropes that need untangling. And it's like, yeah, by all means, put them back on the shelf, but just bunch them up a little bit, you know. And again, like I'm not even going to get started on the boxing pads and the gloves and stuff like that. The amount of times I'd find like a size 10 pad for the left hand and then like the size 4 with the right hand. You're like, who's boxing like this? You know, who's coming in like with this huge offset in the size of their hands, you know, where they need to be mixing up. It's like they've maybe just obviously just grab whatever's been there. But yeah, you know, boxing stuff as well, get it away nice and safely. But of course with skipping ropes, if it's left out, there's much more chance that somebody's actually going to trip over them, potentially in the middle of an exercise as well. If you're doing a weighted lunge, if you've got 20 kilograms on your back, you know, we've all done that thing where we get a little bit top heavy, where you're running too fast or you trip on something and you're like, you can't slow down because your momentum's just a little bit too much. That becomes a lot more common and a lot easier to get into that sort of movement if you've got a weight on your back, because that weight keeps going. And of course, wherever you've tripped your feet, it's going to stop pretty quickly on the spot. So yeah, it's really easy to go over a skipping rope. And again, you don't want to be doing it with any extra weight on your body, especially not on your back as well. So yeah, skipping ropes, get them away, get them off the gym floor, out the way of everybody else, especially if you're done using them. Okay, medicine ball.
Just being considerate though, innit? Like, in
of course
general,
it is. Yeah, of course it is.
Especially when you're doing something like a circuit, because you probably will be using loads of kit.
Yeah. I've seen people scupper themselves with it. You know, they'll hoist the spin rope down and they'll start doing their traveling lunges. You see them like they're counting, they get back to sort of close to where they should be, and they've got like 1 or 2 reps left, but they can't do them because really all the kit that they've left out is going to be in the way.
Like Wile E. Coyote, they've set themselves a big trap.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Getting your dumbbells and your skipping rope straight from Acme. Yeah.
Acme gym equipment.
Yeah, definitely. That's where you've got like you put your skipping rope down. That's when you put your dumbbells down, and then just a little bit of bird seed at the end. You know, just you know, because you've got to lure them in somehow. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so medicine balls are pretty similar, to be honest. Really easy to go over, because when you put them down, they can roll. You know, you might put them down and move on, and then like the next person gets to that station and the kit's either sort of rolled away to the point where they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. Like the card says medicine ball slam and I've got no medicine ball. Like, excuse me, Rob, what am I supposed to be doing, please? Or they can roll off and, like I say, into somebody else's way as well. And that could be doing sprints up and down the gym. That could be shuttles. That could be skipping. Like, if you're jumping in the air, the last thing you want is something to sort of come under your feet while you're airborne. Like, that's one way to roll an ankle, sprain an ankle, tear a ligament or something like that.
Or
you know,
trip over and hurt yourself.
Exactly.
You don't want to land. Sometimes, I mean, if you've been in the studio and stuff, you don't want to land on that floor. It's like rock solid.
Exactly. That in itself. Yeah, definitely not. You know, get up with the old school sort of like friction burns on your elbow as well.
You know, you'll have bruised elbow, bruised knee. It's not great. Like if you played indoor football, you know.
I'm gonna say when you used to do a like a slide tackle indoor football.
And your skin would just be off. That's it. There's no skin on that leg anymore.
Definitely. So yeah, we're watching out for medicine balls, where they can roll off to, and making sure again there's no rips in them, they're not leaking, there's no sand coming out of them. Some of them have got gel in them as well, you know, that could do exactly the same. Some of them have got handles, you know, so some of them will actually have sort of like a kettlebell handle on either side to just give you a bit of an easier way to get a grip on the medicine ball. Now, again, you've got to make sure that those haven't got any tears in them. If you go to do sort of like a kettlebell swing sort of movement with a medicine ball and that handle tears, you know, you've got a weight which is essentially sailing through the air across the gym in any given direction, you know, really. And like I say, we don't want 10 kilograms up in the air, totally uncontrolled. You never know where it's going to land, who it's going to hit on the way. So yeah, just making sure the handles have got no tears in them, they're safe, ready to go. If you're bouncing the ball off of something, is that surface suitable? You know, are you on sort of like a mat where if you're trying to get the medicine ball to bounce, is it going to bounce? And again, at the same time, you know, I've seen people do sort of like chucking a medicine ball at a wall without checking that the wall is suitable to receive sort of like 10 kilograms worth of impacted force, and you end up with like sort of holes in drywall and stuff like that, you know, depending on how the gym's actually being put up. You can actually end up damaging the walls as well as the floor. So again, thinking about just making sure that what you're throwing the ball at is suitable, and then making sure that they're getting stored either again in a rack or in a good sort of heavy duty storage container. You know, again, you might buy a rack of medicine balls that might go from 1 kilogram up to 5, whatever it might be. You know, I'm trying to think off the top of my head some of the ones that I've come across. I think we've had 3s, 6s, 9s, 12s, 15s. So I've come across ones before that have gone up in sort of 3 kilogram increments. You can always have a look around and look for some different bits as well. I've just seen Wib says, is Mel back to work yet? Kind of. She's helping me behind the scenes. Yeah, she's definitely helping me out a little bit. Not so much with the streaming and stuff like that just yet. But yeah, she's still busy. That's for sure. She's still busy. So I'll have no bother being able to give her a shout and see if she knows where them circuit cards I for your Wib. Definitely, I'll get on that this week. Okay, so trampolines might not be the first thing that you think about when it comes to a bit of fitness kit, but you know what? They're a lot more common than you might think. Like the gym that I used to work at it wasn't the sort of gym that you think of fitness training, you know, like it's where I was working with bodybuilders. It was quite an old school sort of gym, you know, and then just in the cupboard, they had just 2 trampolines like this that they just didn't really know what to do with. So I would, because I was teaching a trampoline class at the time, I would drag the trampoline out for boot camps and for clients and stuff like that, you know, like, oh, let's change it up. Let's do some different stuff, you know. We've got the kit. Why aren't we using it, you know? So, again, thinking about the exercises we can do on them, and, again, making sure that it's safe, thinking about sort of like outer covers. You know, you might not realize it, but that outer cover can be an absolute lifesaver when it comes to a trampoline.
You don't want to hit the spring, like, no, definitely.
But you know what? You would think to yourself, like, if I land on the spring, it's going to hurt just as much through a cover. Like, it's not padded, really, but it makes a massive difference. It really does. Not to mention, it reduces the chance of a limb going through the spring, you know, and also sort of going through the gaps in the spring. Because, of course, if your body's moving another way and your arm goes through a gap, you can easily end in like a breakage, or certainly a tear or a sprain. Yeah. That's for sure. So making sure that the outer covers are there and the springs are actually attached as well. You know, I've had a spring snap in the middle of a trampoline class, and mate, I thought a gun had gone off. Like I genuinely thought there was like someone had been sniped. It was one of them where like everybody stopped and looked at what on earth that noise was. It made a hell of a racket. Yeah, it really did. Now nobody got hurt. Because it was one spring out of however many. But again, we're just going to make sure that those springs are secure and they're getting regular maintenance as well. In that scenario, because I was running a class for them, that was their trampoline park. It was up to them to maintain that, and they kept on top of that. I didn't have to. But, you know, it needs maintenance, and we need to make sure that everything is working as it should be and not going to perish. Legs are locked in safely. Rubber feet are securely on the feet, and the rubber feet are on, and they're making sure that the trampoline's not going to move about too much. If you bounce on it off a trampoline and it's under your feet 1 minute and then skids off across the gym, and you're coming down and there's no trampoline anymore, you know, you're potentially in a world of hurt as well. So making sure that the trampoline's going to stay where it is, and again, no rips or tears in the actual trampoline itself. You know, again, it doesn't take a huge rip or a huge tear in these things. Same as a resistance band. When they start working at high levels of resistance, sooner or later something's going to give, and it's probably going to be where that tear is. You know, again, I'm sure we've all seen a video where someone bounces on a trampoline and you're expecting to watch them bounce back up in the air and they just go through it. You know, so again, making sure that they're sort of everything's safe with them. And then when we're putting them away, legs are folded, trampolines are stacked. They're normally designed to fit one on top of each other as well, and they don't take up as much space as you might think. So again, we can actually sort of store them over to one side. And again, if you're just using one for yourself, something that you could look at for in the house. Just think about what sort of clearance you've got overhead, because a gym ceiling tends to be a little bit higher than the ceiling that you've got at home. I am not a tall person, but I could not be trampolining in my living room, you know. So again, something to think about. Could you put it in the back garden, you know? Actually seen some pretty cool ideas where trampolines have been dug into the garden, but they're actually dug down and like set into a hole so that the trampoline's flush with like the lawn or the surface. That's pretty cool. I do like that, but of course that is time and effort, and that's a workout in itself getting that put in.
Aye.
But I've just seen Wib's got to shoot off for today, taking mum shopping. Enjoy, buddy. You know, I've never been one for shopping. In fact, that's an understatement. I hate shopping. I will order stuff online and have it brought to the doorstep. And thank you very much, Amazon. Thank you very much. But even nowadays, after a year being stuck indoors, I go to the shops. I'm in no rush. I'm like, I'll have a bit browse. I'll see what's going on. I might get myself a wandering coffee while I'm sort of out and about. Because it's just a nice change, you know. We've got a nice day over here. I'm not sure what things are like over that way. It looks pretty bright your way, buddy.
Yeah.
I know you're not in the office, are you?
I'm in the corner.
Exactly. Yeah. So whatever.
Degrees, roughly.
There we go. So enjoy the weather, buddy. Enjoy the weather. Get out there, and I'll hopefully catch you soon, and I'll give you an update on where we're at with them cards. Okay, guys, cool. So just got a couple more to do. Coming back to the old staple, the old favorite. A barbell, of course, which we've talked about before, how we might use it, the benefits, pros and cons. Making sure that before we start using them, are weights suitable for the bar? Are they the correct size, or are they going to be too heavy? You know, we've mentioned that's one of the big drawbacks of a barbell. If you're trying to put 40, 60, 80 kilograms on either side, you don't want them on like a little bar on your wrist. Really, you know, we want to make sure that we've got the right weights for the barbell. You can go too heavy. You know, but while you've got Olympic guys out there doing like deadlifts to the point where the bar actually bends to like it looks like it's like red hot steel, like it bends that easily when they're using it. I wouldn't worry too much about, you know, Joe Public putting so much weight on a barbell that it's going to snap. Just making sure that it's not too heavy, but thinking about, is it too heavy for yourself and for your own abilities and for good technique? Thinking about the clamps. Or like the little safety clips, are they secure? Are they tight against the plates on either side? Is the little collar as well, you know, for lack of a better term. So the bit that you slide the plate up to before you put the clamp on, there's like a little neck, isn't there? You know, there's like a little, almost like a little big thick washer to stop it going any further. Now we've got you'd want to check them as well, because I've actually had them come out mid-set as well, you know, like the big screw in the ends come undone, the handles come off, and you know, you could potentially hurt yourself that way as well. Making sure that the weights are equal on each side, not just when you're stripping the bar before or after, but during the exercise as well. You know, we've talked before about how when you're stripping the weight down, if you pull all the weight off one side and leave the weight on the other, the unweighted sides are going to pop up and probably hit you on the way and not feel very nice while doing it. But again, during the workout, it's more common than you might think to end up with like an extra 5 plate on one side and not on the other.
Yeah.
And
so
like
your maths get tested. You have to be quick.
Exactly, especially when you're like, oh, okay, I've added 2 5 plates on this side, but there's no more 5 plates available. I need to add different weights that add up to the same amount. Yeah, like you say, you're sometimes doing math sort of on your feet, but yeah, just making sure that they are even, because that is a way to injure yourself. There are benefits to training with one side of the barbell slightly heavier than the other. It's not really anything that we need to go into today, but it can work really good for imbalances if you're trying to, same again, maybe you don't have dumbbells, but you have got a side that is working quite dominantly through an exercise, and you just need to work that side a little bit harder, you know. My right-hand side is stronger. I feel as though I can bench 100 kg, but my other side, not so much. So we can find that balance in there somewhere. But just in terms of safety, get them equal on each end. That is something that we don't need to worry about too much until like you're well down the line where you're training and we're looking to get through plateaus and stuff. When it comes to storing barbells, they actually take up a bit more space than you think, really, don't they? Because I mean, if they're on the floor, there's nowhere else you can put them, really. You can get some pretty clever sort of stands that are designed to almost like let you sort of stand them upright and make use of that vertical space. and they can work pretty well. I mean, you can get maybe 10 different barbells in, maybe it's not even like a square meter of floor space really. Just being aware of how much weight is in that rack. Can the weight go over? Because obviously some of them bars are going to be quite heavy and could pretty easily just sort of topple as well.
Yeah.
So
you just got to be mindful when you're taking them off as well, like out of the rack as well, because you can quite easily just drop it.
Yeah, or hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Hurt yourself really. Like if you think about like trying to get a barbell from that position to like sort of up and out of the slot and then horizontal safely, and you think about the amount of different muscles that in itself engages, you've got to actually be mindful when you're doing it. Engage your core. Don't just like go over, sort of like turn away from it and then be trying to pull it out on the way, because that is how you might sort of pull your shoulder, pull your neck, or put too much strain on your lower back as well. So definitely thinking about how we're loading them and getting these barbells out as well, and just like I say, making sure that they're safe, and that we've got them weighted up appropriately, really. Exercise mats are really, really helpful in the gym, obviously giving you a little bit of padding, helping certain exercises be that little bit more comfortable, protecting your knees. If you've ever done sort of like anything where you're kneeling down in the gym floor, again, like Hatham says, you don't want to be kneeling on that studio floor. You want that mat. A yoga mat would even do, it works very similar. But of course, we're thinking about checking for rips, something that you might be able to actually get your foot sort of caught in as you're passing over the mat, or is the mat just in the wrong place where it's easy to sort of nick and go over it anyway? Again, like a skipping rope, if we're not using it, can we get it over to one side? Can we get it out of the way? Can we roll them up? And a lot of exercise mats and yoga mats will come with like a little band that will go over the top and just hold it all together quite nicely.
Sometimes you get a bag with yours if you've got one.
Yeah, that's definitely a good shout, buddy. You might just get a bag where you can just chuck it in, and away you go. Quite portable as well, so if you do want to take them place to place, take it outside if you want to do your morning stretches outside or whatever it is. Really, really handy bits of kit. Really cost effective as well, for in the house, for the benefit of them. When you think about 20 quid of exercise mat will get you a lot further than 20 quid's worth of dumbbells, because you're not going to get much for 20 quid's worth of dumbbells. So yeah, just again, making sure that they're sort of safe before we use them, and then getting stored safely so they're out of the way as well. Right, guys, so last couple, just before we start sort of winding down for the day, and before we have that little look at some skeletal muscles as well. So looking at a battle rope, have you ever done battle ropes, buddy?
Yep.
Harder than they look. Yeah.
Good, yeah, really good.
Harder than they look. It's one of them where like you'll say to people, because of course we've got the battle rope on screen there. So these ropes are weighted and are normally sort of like looped around something. So it's all just one rope that you've got hold of both end. And like I say, you're going to do lots of different stuff. You can do slams where you're sort of up in the air above your head, slam them down as hard as you can. You might get down low like this lady's doing, and doing sort of like really fast snakes. Like Hatham says, you might be coming sort of side to side, get your core engaged, get your obliques engaged a little bit more. Like I've seen people in like do a press up and then come up and grab hold of one end of the rope and slam it like in a plank
like a burpee sometimes as well. You do where you go down, push everything, and then down.
Oh, they're brutal. yeah. I was gonna say, just turn my stomach thinking about them. But yeah, really, really good full body exercise. And you know what? A lot of them actually turn out to be harder than they look, because when you demonstrate the exercise, and this is something that I've found over the years, doing a lot of demonstrations, you demonstrate the exercise and you're like, right, what you're going to do is this, really fast for 30 seconds. And they go, yeah, great. That looks pretty easy because you've done it for 5 seconds in front of them. And like, there's no real chance for the lactic acid to build up. That weight isn't going to sort of take over.
Yeah.
After 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, it's a different ball game, isn't it? You get to 50 seconds. Like when I was doing battle ropes for people, I would often count down the last 10 seconds so they knew that they were in that last 10 seconds, almost so like, right, I can really, really push for these last 10 seconds now, rather than like just feeling like so exhausted after the first 40 seconds, not knowing how long you've got left, trying to pace yourself a little bit. I'd say to people, right, 10 seconds left, go make the most of them. Which, just gets that little bit extra out of them as well. So when it comes to battle ropes, again, thinking about are the handles secure? Are they comfortable as well? You know, I've seen sort of makeshift battle ropes done. I think I mentioned before one that was essentially just like it was a mooring line for a ship.
Yeah.
It was like just this industrial big battle rope that was probably twice as heavy as a battle rope would be, you know, if you got a proper fitness one. And the handles were just kind of taped up, which they were comfortable enough. But as that tape came to sort of wear and tear over time, you know, not so much, a little bit harder to
that's where you're getting the big calluses on your hands.
Exactly, buddy. If you're so focused on keeping your grip, you know, you maybe tensing muscles that don't want to be tensed. And of course, if you're focused on your grip, you're not thinking about doing the exercise in itself. So you want that grip to be good, nice and secure. Just the same as how the rope is attached. What is it anchored round? You know, is it going to start pulling something forward? Because same again, you don't realize when you do just like a big slam and that kink goes down the battle rope, you know, it can pull something forward. It can lift something. Again, it can actually sort of like whip somebody else as well if they're sort of stood in the way. You know, so thinking about how the rope's attached, and again checking for space. You know, do you have space to be doing sort of side to side, big slams, snakes, that sort of thing? Do you have the space to do it, or do you need to clear a little bit of space, or think about a different exercise? Because that is one thing that battle ropes, when I was doing a boot camp, and the gym was nice and quiet and I had all the space in the world, really, really easy to get in. If I was training a client at 5 o'clock tea time, there's just no way I could factor in battle rope training because the gym was just too busy. You know, there was no designated space, especially when the weather wasn't nice enough to be outside. Outside had the functional space, the prowler, we had like a tire, half a tire that was on a hinge designed for tire flips.
Okay.
You know, rather than just getting a tire and flipping it, we had this actual piece of kit that was designed for it, you know, monkey bars, all of that sort of stuff, kind of like the area that you've got upstairs, you know, buddy, at the gym that you're using, that you'd mentioned. You know, so if the weather was pants and the gym was open, a lot of those exercises were out the window, and battle rope was definitely one of them, you know, just from the amount of space that it can take up. Just to have them pulled out and extended, never mind moving anywhere, you know. And when they're not being used, they can actually be sort of, again, tied up in a little bit of a knot. Or, to be honest, I just sort of like just used to bunch them up a little bit. They used to work really well, and then just get them out the way. We used to anchor ours around the squat rack, because the squat rack's one of them bits of kit that even when there's no weight on the bar, there's always weight on the side of the squat rack. You know, people are doing their legs, and oh, that's a wasp. Lovely. I just got sideswiped there, mate. Did I say that? I got dive bomb there. Give him a swift backhand.
You want a bit of that.
That's it. Oh, he's gone out the window. The backhand was too. He couldn't take it, mate. He couldn't take it.
Like the old Bruce Lee, and they catch it.
That was it. Yeah, mate. That would have blown your mind, wouldn't it? I'm sure. Yeah, just like
throw it out the window.
Yeah, man.
That would have been a very good component of fitness, because that would have been coordination and reaction time.
Exactly, buddy. And if I'd have got stung, you'd have seen me cardio fitness and how quick I can move.
Running around in circles.
Exactly, mate. Yeah, exactly. Okay, buddy. So, just making sure that these battle ropes are away safely when we're done using them and before we move on. Cool. What have we got? Kettlebells next. So kettlebells are the same as kind of your dumbbells, your medicine balls, anything that are sort of could be potentially filled with sand, or anything that could leak out if you start to get cracks. Kettlebells, I don't know what it is. Like, kettlebells is one of the things that I see more often just sort of thrown. Like, I've never been able to figure out why it is. Like, when they're done with it, the kettlebell gets thrown, and I don't know if it's just this idea of, it's a robust bit of functional kit that's designed to take this battering. Like, I don't know what it is, you know, but yeah, you see it all the time. And same again, plastic ones, I've had crack filled with sand.
I was going to say that I think it's all right when it's the cast iron ones. I think they're okay. You're not gonna break a cast iron. I mean, you might break something else because they are like a big old lump, but you're not gonna. Yeah. If you're on the proper gym floor, like where you'd be able to drop the bar with a bit of weight on it, it's just gonna
like rubber, like a little bit of rubber padding.
That's where I've seen people do it, but I'm yet to see someone do it on like the wood of a studio yet, because I don't think that would end very well. Because like you say, the kettlebell might smash up and all the sand will go everywhere. Or if it's a cast iron one, it's just kind of go through the floor and like. It's gonna
yeah. That's a good point, actually, buddy. Yeah, to say that sort of like. I haven't really seen it done on like a wooden studio floor quite so much. And it probably is just this idea of, right, okay, if I can drop dumbbells and barbells and stuff like that, and I can drop these sort of cast iron kettlebells, no bother.
Yeah.
Probably just not realizing the plastic ones don't work the same. And chucking a plastic one sooner or later, it's going to end up cracking as
Plus,
well.
you shouldn't, if you're doing especially a circuit with people like a class, you shouldn't really be holding anything anyway. Like, nothing should be getting thrown. If you're in like an isolated space on like a lifting platform by yourself, yeah, you've got room to drop the bar, but like you got to be mindful, haven't you? Because you do a big like cleaning the bars up here, and then you just throw it, and someone's walking past like that. That's landing on them, really, innit? So
I've seen a video before actually of someone who broke their leg like that. Yeah. I can't think who it was.
Threw it on themselves.
No, threw it. Yeah. Sort of like, I don't even know if they threw it, but they dropped it, and anyway, this bar's rolling and this bar is in motion. Yeah. And some guy has just stood talking, and it rolls kind of side on into the outside of his leg.
Yeah.
Which is coming into tibia and fibia, both of them little leg muscles, in a direction that they don't really like the move, and just the angle that it hit, because it wasn't ankle where you've got movement, and it wasn't quite as high as knee where you've got a little bit of movement. It hit in the middle where there's no movement, and something's got to give. And I think it was just the weight on the bar, because it wasn't like oh my god, that bar's like shifting, get out of the way of it. It just rolled, and it was just the weight of it, it's the same idea of like a lorry or a wagon that's heavy doesn't have to be going fast to do you know what I mean? Like as much damage as a car going 60, 70 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And it's physics at the end of the day. This heavy weight, it's kind of hurt, especially when it hits two little bones in the bottom of your leg. I mean, that's not to say like, what if it rolled over someone? If it rolled over someone's foot as well, So yeah, we're thinking about that. And like Hatham says, if you're working around anybody else, really don't be throwing things. If you were strong enough to pick it up, you should be strong enough to put it back down.
Yeah.
That was always my argument. Anyway, so yeah, if they crack, again, you've got sand leakage to think about. Again, danger of it going in your eye, above your head. If you're doing a clean and press, doing a Turkish get up, like the last thing you want is to get through like a Turkish get up, and like halfway through you've got a face full of sand. And like, if you've never done one, Hatham mentioned one last week actually. So you pretty much lay it on your back with a weight sort of extended, sort of like in line with your chest, straight up, and your aim is to through a series of movements, you're aiming to get up to your feet with the kettlebell above your head, without sort of unstraightening your arm throughout the whole process, which is a tough enough thing to do anyway, correctly. It's a lot of movement.
It's all technique, isn't it? But
it is. It really is, and technique's a lot harder to think about when you've got a face full of sand.
Yeah.
So definitely that's something that you're gonna want to watch out for. Not to mention it can affect your breathing as well, I guess. So checking that the base has a rubber base to protect the floor. A lot of kettlebells are going to have like just a thin layer of rubber on the bottom just to protect the floor that they might be on. But like Hatham says, a lot of gyms are going to have that sort of matting underneath. But it's something that you need to think about if you were to be renting a space, if you were hiring a college hall or a community centre or something like that, and they've just got the wooden floor. Don't be going in with a load of kettlebells that's just going to leave the floor looking like a game of whack-a-mole or something like that.
Doing like even like deadlifts with them or whatever. Every time you hit it off the floor, it's gonna be like you say, it'll be like a wrecking ball just into the floor constantly.
It's going to leave a mark anyway, if not dents, scratches, any of that as well. So yeah, just something to watch out for, because you don't want to be getting the when you're running your own PT business, you don't want to be getting the old refurb bill through for a community centre.
But even your own floor, do you know what I mean? If you buy a kettlebell, you don't want to be sending you don't want to be sending yourself off to B&Q every 10 minutes to have to buy a new bit of flooring.
A couple of new kitchen tiles, because that's where you've got more space. Yeah, definitely. Or same again, thinking about your own home, but maybe you're renting.
Yeah,
maybe you're renting. Good luck explaining that one when you move out and get your security deposit back. Yeah. Like, why does my kitchen look like the surface of the moon? Yeah. Right, guys, cool. So, with kettlebells, the weight can be quite difficult to judge, because you tend not to get one little kilogram jumps. It'll be your 2 kilograms up to 4, up to 6, up to 8. Probably best case scenario, like I said before, I've seen them that'll go like 4 kilograms, 8 kilograms,
12.
16 kilograms. Yeah,
Sometimes it's a 12, but even then, that's 4 kilos. Like, it's
it's
not
quite
good
a big
enough.
jump. It's quite a big jump. If you're going from 4 to 8, it's double. It's
Yeah.
100% increase. It doesn't matter how big that jump is. It's 100%. You're doubling the weight that you're lifting, and if that 4 kilograms was tough at one point, or should still be quite challenging, really, the 8 might be too heavy straight away, you know. So you might need really, in order to transition that safely and with good technique, you might need to reduce reps.
Tends not to be a lot of them as well, so it's tough sometimes to get the right one. So your
Mhm,
16
mhm.
might be getting the 12 might be getting used. So you've got
Yeah,
either an 8 or a 16. It's like, well,
yeah,
or if you're on the 16, sometimes the next one available is a 24, and it's like, well, not
yeah.
going up to 24 yet. Like, I mean, I'll just, yeah.
I'll just make do with this
Uh,
one. Yeah,
but you
yeah,
can change it up. You can change up what you're doing with it, I suppose.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
quite flexible in terms of like what you can do with them.
Yeah, I mean, you could go heavier, like we say, and do less reps, but then we're coming back to, does it fit your goals? Is that sort of best for your training and to get you where you want to be? You know, so it is, and it's all these little things that we've got to think about. You know, which is it still blows my mind that, you know, we think that, oh, it's pushed by certain people, do my workout and it will work for you. Like no, it's just no. I'm not buying it. Like,
Yeah,
everybody is different. The way that people move is different. People's circumstances are different. People's calorific needs are different. People's metabolisms are different. There is no way that one circuit, you'll get benefit from it, but it's not going to have the same effect for one person as it might for somebody else.
you get used to it as well. Like, you'll start to get a bit more creative and realize what works for
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
So if
Yeah,
you go in and you've been doing one exercise constantly, it might be good to change it up and do a different one.
yeah,
Or you might not have access to the kit you normally use. So instead of doing kettlebell swings with a 16 using both hands, might get the 8 out and do a single-handed one and then
yeah.
swap.
Hmm.
Or I might do a totally different exercise with the 8. I might just do like a standing shoulder press or whatever. Like,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
change
Like
it
you,
up totally.
yeah.
Do
The more
something
you get
different.
used to it, yeah, and the more familiar you get with it, that might be something we could look to do. To be honest, once I am sort of back in the office a little bit more and have access to that gym space,
Yeah.
we could maybe do, you know, a series of videos how to do this exercise with this bit of kit, or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
or we
Yeah,
we can get our
definitely.
heads together and think about that anyway. But if that's something that you feel would benefit you guys, then by all means do let us know.
Yeah.
You know, even if you just drop us an email or something like that. Okay, cool. So, when it comes to kettlebells, again, they're going to be stored probably on a rack, or again in a heavy duty container. Normally on a rack, probably more common that I've seen, or even just sort of stored on the floor underneath the rack. You
Yeah.
know, it might be under the dumbbell rack or something like that, but they're going to be, generally speaking, sort of out the way
Just a
because,
flat bench, really, and that's like made out of steel.
yeah, yeah, exactly, buddy. Yeah, so designed obviously to take all the weight. Um, because I think that's something that of course we often overlook how much these weights weigh even when we're not lifting them, you know. Especially from someone who's taken a couple of different deliveries of a full rack of dumbbells.
Yeah.
Being on shift by myself, yeah, them's heavy. And like I say, the rack's got to take them, and it's exactly the same for the kettlebells. So yeah, making sure that they're stored sort of safely, you know, they're away safely. Um, and just making sure that we're not going to be sort of putting us or other people at risk while we're on. Okay, guys. So thinking about the workbook, coming back to that workbook and getting this workbook actually started. So we're going back to task 1.1 here. So the tools and equipment workbook, we're going to be looking at the actual bit of kit that you're going to be using. So we can say either kettlebell, body weight, cones, whatever it might be. So identify what fitness equipment you plan to use, the exercise that you plan to do it in your circuit. So you can say dumbbell, these will be used for overhead press. These will be used because, and you can say why you're picking them. You know, it could be a good upper body exercise, you know, whatever it might be, you know, whatever you're justifying or however you've decided and why you've decided you're going to use that bit of kit. And then you can say how the equipment may help with certain benefits. You know, you can say, okay, I'm using this to do a bit of muscular endurance or strength. I'm picking burpees to do a little bit of cardiovascular endurance, like that sort of thing. So that is what we're going to do for exercise 1.1. Exercise 1.2 or task 1.2, we're going to be looking at the different fitness equipment that's mentioned in the book. So mats, bands, medicine balls, kettlebells, dumbbells, skipping ropes, ladders and cones. And we're going to be thinking about 2 different safety precautions associated with each bit of kit. So mats, again, making sure that they're away safe when not in use, and making sure that there's no tears in them when we are using them, that sort of thing. So that is task 1.1. Then we have got task 2.1 and 2.2, where identify 3 pieces of fitness equipment that you intend to use from your circuit. So 3 that you've already picked, and how you would care and maintain for them. Yeah, so again, looking out for little nicks in them, making sure that stuff is sort of, again, put away properly and stuff like that, and just making sure that we're identifying safety issues with them and making sure we're reducing them as much as we can. So care and maintenance for each bit of kit, and safety precautions for each bit of kit. And again, if you're struggling with any of that, just drop me an email and I'm always happy to help. So guys, the plan for this week then, as well as what we were just looking at there, of course, the first exercise that we looked at was actually sort of finalizing your own circuit and the exercises that you're going to be using to do your circuit cards over the course of the next week, ideally, so we can get that either a one-to-one Zoom booked, so you can either talk me through them and sort of explain why you've made certain choices, or once they're done, you can just bang them across to me in an email as pictures or whatever, and I'll be able to dive on, have a look, and then we can maybe have a chat even just over email or whatever it is, So different ways we can do them, but we're going to start having a little bit of a think about what our circuit cards are going to look like. So thought it would probably pay to have a little bit of a look at some of the examples that we've got from previous learners. I just caught where Wibb's comment there. He's back. He's chilling in the car park in Asda.
Yeah.
Keen there. Can't keep you away. Can't keep you away. That's it. To be honest, I think I'd soon be learning about stuff like this in the shops, especially if it's
sitting in the car park anyway.
I'm going to say, especially when it's food shopping. Okay, guys, cool. So looking at a couple of examples. We've got so this learner here had gone with a kettlebell swing. I was loving the stickman. Love the stickman, that is about the absolute height and peak of my creative ability.
They can't be doing that circuit right because they're smiling.
Yeah, they're not working hard enough. It's because it's exercise 2, buddy. That's what it is.
Okay.
It's exercise 2. It's still early doors yet. If this was exercise 10, they'd have a different look on their face. That's for sure. So we've got, of course, equipment needed. Kettlebell. Nice little drawing of what the equipment is there, even when it's not in use. I like that. Of course, we've got our number, which massively helpful in helping people just keep on track and not miss any exercises out, because I've had it before where you get to the end and someone's missed a station. All of a sudden you've got 2 people that are supposed to be on the same station at the same time, or some people are still saying, I've got another couple of stations left to do, or I'm finished.
Yeah.
when there's actually a couple of rounds left, and having a number on there, it doesn't even take a second to put on there, keep it organized, and it can help you keep things a little bit structured as well. So we've got at the top, we've got not only the kit that we use, we've got the exercise that we're doing, then a little description: stand over the kettlebell, feet hip width apart, chest up, shoulders back, and down. Back and down, yeah. Took a second there. The bell should be in line with the middle of your feet, swinging upwards. Aim for chest height with arms extended, and let the kettlebell swing down, and then repeat. So a nice, easy description to finish. You've got 20 seconds to rest up between stations. You spend 5 of them walking down to your next station. You've got a good 15 seconds to read through this, get an idea of what muscles you should be using, where you should be feeling it, shoulders, back, hips, legs, and glutes. And then you can, get a couple of deep breaths in you, get yourself set. And then when the timer counts down, like, right, guys, next set, let's go. You're ready to hit the ground running. You've got a clear idea what you should be doing, how to do it safely, and you're ready to start as well, so you're getting the most out of that working time as well. So really, really nice and clear, laid out bit of kit. Really clear laid out circuit card, sorry. And yeah, I liked it, it would definitely do the job. This next example that we've got, they've gone for a similar sort of approach. We've got the same again, number in the top right, same again, still smiling, Still smiling. I'm loving the old what is it they say? Astergrass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, he's getting some good depth. Getting some good depth on there. Squats. Stand with your feet. Stand with your feet. I'm guessing with the part in line with your shoulders. Yeah, in line with your shoulders. Keep your back position straight and keep your knees centered over your feet. Slowly bend your knees, hips, and ankles, lower in until you reach 90-degree angle. Return to a sitting position or wherever you've started from, and repeat. Pretty much. So same again, quads, glutes, hamstrings, you know where you should be feeling it, what's going to be worked. You maybe's even got an idea that we're going to use a fitness mat there as well if you want to, just under your feet, I guess. Okay, cool. So same again, nice and straightforward. Like you don't have to be Da Vinci to be able to get a picture on there that's pretty easy to follow. Like this isn't even like a picture that says start here, finish here. It just gives you a rough idea what your body wants to look like, and it does the job. And same again, like this person has got these circuits at home and they can say to themselves, right, I'm going to jump on and do this circuit, no bother. I've got my timer ready to go and my circuit cards are there. I've just got to follow it. You've not necessarily got to think about it. Okay, cool. So I've got another example there. Same again, we've got our equipment that's needed. Mat and some dumbbells. Okay, so dumbbells, chest press. So lie down on your back, hold 2 dumbbells at chest level along your body. Palms facing your feet. Yeah, raise dumbbells straight until elbows are close to being locked. And lower them slowly after a short pause. Breathe out when raising the dumbbells and breathe in when lowering them back. So same again, we can get an idea there. Yeah, it sort of talks you through the movement, gives you a good idea when to be breathing. Because of course we don't want to hold our breath, but breathing at the right time can really, really help. Do you know what, mate? It's surprising how common it is to actually end up holding your breath, just from like not thinking about it. You're thinking about the technique. You're thinking about counting how many you've done. Whereas that's one of the first tips I would say. Think about your breathing and your breathing cycle, and you'll make leaps and bounds.
If you're not getting out of your muscles, you're in big trouble.
Exactly. And we know that by now. Your muscles need oxygen, and you've got to be getting it in, and you've got to be getting it to them. So with this one, straight away, the muscles used jumps out to me, because although it's a chest press, and you'd be thinking to yourself, right, oh, come nice and wide, I'm going to do some sort of like chest press for me pecs. This person's saying, no, I'm actually intending this to be a tricep dominant exercise. Yeah. So you're going to be a little bit narrower. You're going to be a little bit more tucked. Yeah. So without this, I think
when you're not on a bench or anything, so you're going straight from the floor, it probably is a little bit more. Because you're not pushing with your chest necessarily, because you haven't gone down to that angle to push with it. Really, you're sort of pushing. From there.
You can't get the depth because your elbows hit the floor, like you say, rather than dropping either side of the bench. Yeah, exactly, buddy.
It will still work your chest, like it'll still it'll work your biceps as well and your shoulders and everything. But primarily, I imagine you probably do if you do that narrow grip, like you were saying, you're doing it's a lot of focus on your triceps and that.
Yeah, and of course we can see, just because they've put this section on, that they know roughly not only where they should be feeling it, but obviously like a couple of different ways that they can tweak it to make sure that they are feeling it actually in the right place.
Yeah.
You would start doing this technique, and if this said chest, you'd get halfway through and you'd be like, oh, my triceps are burning, I'm doing something wrong. So this little section down here is potentially saved a little bit of confusion, when it comes to what am I supposed to be doing. As the instructor, you've saved yourself a little bit more time and just kept things organized. So really, really helpful, really, really good circuit card, that one. Okay, then we've got another one, a little bit of a different style. So we've got same again, number in the top left, Russian twists with a medicine ball. So we know the exercise and we know what bit of kit we're using as well, and then we know what muscles we should be using and feeling sort of throughout. Little picture that, again, stickmen, that's all it takes. Medicine ball in the hand, and they've even got the little directional arrows. I like that saying. Obviously, we're twisting side to side, and we can see from this position that they're sort of, obviously, their shoulders and their back isn't sort of flush to the floor, so they've got their abs engaged that way, because it's quite a difficult shape and a difficult exercise to explain without demonstrating and without any visual help.
Yeah.
To be able to say to someone, lie down in a V shape, you'd be like, you what? You know what? It would take some thinking about, you know.
That wouldn't you? If
Ex-
your legs pointed out, and you'd be like making all
exactly,
sorts
yeah.
of shapes.
You really would, yeah. So to just be able to go on straight into that position, your abs are going to engage straight away. It's one of them, like, if you've never even done it, try sitting yourself upright, as long as your back's flat, and then just slowly lean back, especially to the point where your feet are going to come up and you feel your core switch on. You feel like, it's like, oh, okay, your knee is there. Yeah. So yeah, it's important to be in the right position. It is important to keep your back flat on this one, as opposed to just like hunching over. Because like if you come into that hunch position and start twisting, you know, your lower back and your core aren't working the way that
that's
would
where you've got to think, like, what's tense, what's not, what am I supposed to be working here? Because you
exactly.
can just do the movement and it doesn't really do much.
Yeah.
It's the one I see a lot of people do with deadlifts, and it's one I struggle with. The higher the weight goes, is like, am I using the right muscles here? Or am I just pulling this up as fast and as hard as I can?
Yeah. That has got in my own head so many times when I've been training before. You know,
it's at the bottom, you're like ready to go, and you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. Like, I can't think where my left feet are supposed to be, what muscles supposed to be engaged, and then before you know it, you do it, and you're like, nah, that wasn't right, and then
that was a mistake.
Popped, and you're like, there we go.
Yeah, definitely. So while we're on, just because we've got a little bit of time to sort of cover it, it's a strange one because chest press used to get me with this all the time, because my triceps, no matter where I came, whether I was close grip, wide grip, no matter, like, palms facing in, palms facing down, palms facing up, it would always hurt me front delts more. My front delts I'd be like, I can't feel it in my chest, and it would get so frustrating. Yeah, it would get so frustrating, when really I think it was a case of sometimes feeling it in the wrong place tells you that you're doing it wrong. Sometimes feeling it in the wrong place tells you that some of those secondary muscles that are supposed to be helping out just aren't strong enough. Just not strong enough. Yeah. I was like, if I'm going to be benching this much weight and feeling it in my chest, I need my front delts that are going to be helping out. I need them to be stronger. I need them to be stronger to get to that point. And then eventually, when your delts get to that point and they're strong enough to cope, and your chest's struggling to cope, then you've got the tension in the right place, and you're getting like that tear and that, like I say, that strain in the right place as well. So normally it tells you that you're doing it wrong, especially if it's like, if you're doing an overhead press and you're feeling it in your glutes because you're leaning back over, that's telling you straight away that you're doing it wrong, really. If it's a muscle that sort of assists through that movement and through that exercise, and you're feeling that more than like the primary muscle, maybe that secondary muscle just needs a little bit of extra work, you know. So normally I would use it as a case of, if you're feeling it in the wrong place, look at your technique and go from there. If you feel as though your technique's spot on and you're still getting it, that is when you might be thinking about, okay, does an extra muscle need some work? Ask a PT, ask me, drop me an email. Do you know what I mean? I'm like I say, I'm more than happy to help out with stuff like that and sort of point you in the right direction. If you get to a bit of a crossroads, because we all know progress, you know, we all know, like, right, I want to be moving forward, I want to be moving to here. But you will come to crossroads in your training. It's like, right, do I go this way with it? Do I go that way? Where's best to proceed from here? And, you know, if that is something that you're struggling with, again, please do just drop us an email, because I'm more than happy to help out and get you moving in the right direction as well. But yeah, I just thought that was worth mentioning there when it comes to obviously where you're feeling the exercise and stuff like that, because, like I say, that sort of, it made me realize that chasing PBs for a chest press wasn't the way to get where I wanted to be, certainly without injuries, you know. And it made me realize that I needed to just do some more work elsewhere, which is helpful as well. So bottom of this one as well, we've got equipment needed, mat and medicine ball, let you know what you need. Checking even health and safety on there, you know, check medicine ball and the mat for tears, rips, handles intact, and make sure that everything's good to go. You know, so yeah, that's the same again. Nice and clean, nice and straightforward. Don't have to be the best artist in the world, just to be able to just nice and clear. This is what you need to be doing. Right, guys, we're getting there. Last couple of slides then. So cone sprint. I quite like this one because it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And it's quite difficult to demonstrate through a picture as well. Like, I certainly appreciate the effort that's gone into it on this one. So same again. Whoever's done this is pretty evil, because they've put the cone sprint as exercise number 10.
Yeah.
Sprint through the cones, running around each one as closely and as quickly as possible. Bend down and touch each one before moving on to the next one until you get to the last cone. Repeat going back to the first cone. Yeah, so you might do laps, you might get to the end and turn around and come back on yourself. Same again, we can see what muscles we're using. It's going to be mainly cardiovascular, but of course your calves are going to be working as well from running. If you've done sprinting, you know that you're obviously on your toes. And of course, even sort of like the way that you'll place your foot or pivot your foot to get down low to sort of touch the cones as you're going past, going to engage some of those lower body muscles as well. So yeah, really, really good cone, and I even like the go fast lines. I like the go fast lines in between the cones, you know. And then same again, little idea at the bottom what we need, and same again. I don't think there's any of those cards that I'd have got to in a circuit and gone, do you know what? I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here.
Yeah.
You know, really, really good, really straightforward, and like I say, just nice and easy and clear to follow along with without needing to collar the instructor every station and be like, what do I do? God, mate, I've had it. I've had that where like someone's at the back of the class while you're doing the descriptions and demonstrations, nattering on to so-and-so because they haven't seen her all week and they only see each other at this one class, and every single station, what's this one? What's this one? And I'm like,
listen.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm like, at this point, just keep an eye on the person in front of you. Just see what they're doing. Like, that's not the best way to train. You're not going to get the most out of your training if you're looking at somebody else and what they're doing and focusing on, all right, I'll do that next. You know, how do I do that properly? You know, because the instructor's not helping me anymore because I haven't listened to when he has tried to help, you know? So, definitely trying the amount of time that you can limit that you've got to spend going around and saying to somebody, oh, do it this way, do it that way, frees you up to be going and saying to people, right, okay, I've noticed that it looks like you're really struggling, or, you know, I've even done it before where I've gone up to people who are doing squats and I'm like, you're only getting so far down and then your heels are lifting. Yeah, and there's ways around that, you know. There are ways that you can train through and train around that, but it needs to be addressed. Otherwise, you're squatting on your tippy toes, really, you know, which is going to cause a lot of knee problems. So you want that heels down. And that's what I'm saying. Just little things like that you wouldn't get time to pick up on and address if you were going around to someone and saying to the fourth person that day, this is how you do a press up. This is how we're doing cone sprints. And that's where your cards are just, they're worth their weight in gold, really. Like I say, they really are. And not just that, but you might have more people turn up. Like we sort of mentioned earlier on, you've got 10 stations, 12 people turns up. You've got a couple of spare circuit cards that are body weight, don't involve any more kit. Drag them out, chuck them in, away you go. You've got 12 people now instead of 10, rather than saying to people, oh, sorry, I've got to turn you away. Like, I'm only set up for 10 people, you know. And it, same again, removes how much you've got to actually think in the moment and lets you run the class, you know, which was always my plan. Get everything else sorted before the class, and then when the class comes, you've just got to run it and you've just got to deliver it. You know.
And it can go on the wall as well. They don't necessarily have to be on the foot. It can be quite visible.
Oh,
if you do them on a nice big A3 sheet, then they're sorted. Everyone can see them then out at the day.
Definitely, yeah. 100%, buddy. You know, if you're using them yourself, get a picture of them on your phone. Keep them on your phone and just sort of whip through as you're going through your circuit.
Some places have like a whiteboard, which is quite good as well.
Yeah.
So you know the order. I know it's numbered on the wall, but like, so you remember what you're doing and stuff. It's quite useful.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if you're doing a circuit, if there's 10 people, you're not starting at number one.
That's the thing.
Not everyone can be the first on number one. So you might be starting on number 8. So okay, I've just done burpees, and then I did a minute on the bag, like punch bag.
Yeah.
Now where am I going? Like I'm back.
Exactly.
What's number 1? I can't remember.
Yeah. Where was number 1? Yeah. So like you say, buddy, it just keeps you a little bit more structured. Keeps the whole thing ticking over really, really nicely. I've definitely found that the sessions where obviously things go as planned go a lot more smoothly than the ones that don't, you know. Really, in fact, just before we finish up, kind of a little bit of a tangent, but I've got to tell you, man, there was once I was running a trampoline class and I was using my Spotify for the music.
Yeah.
Alex, still at home, boots up boots up the PS4, straight onto Spotify, started using my account, and mate, the class went dead. The class just went totally dead. And it's like you've got 20 people bouncing on trampolines, and all you can hear is like off the springs, yeah, pretty much. And I was like, oh, I've got to go and sort this out. So that was like, obviously I didn't know what had caused it at first. I ran off and it said paused. I was like, why is it paused? So of course
now saying you're listening on a different device, so you know if you're being scumbagged.
Yeah, and I went in, and it actually said, I think it actually, where it lets you click what device you connect to. I realized it said PS4, so straight away I was like, oh man. So I came straight off. Like I clicked it back onto me. I'm like, no, we're listening on this phone. I need it for me class. Got back out onto the floor where everything was going on. It happened again straight away. Yeah, I was like,
what do you mean? No, like,
yeah.
I'm listening to it. No.
In the end, I just text, please stop. Please stop. And then that was when the penny dropped, and then she realized, and she was absolutely mortified, bless her. But same again, that was 5 minutes on the gym floor, like off the gym floor, sorry, that I was kind of preoccupied. And it that sort of thing necessarily can't really be helped. It's only ever happened the once in like 6-7 years of PTing, but really good example of, when you have things set up and ready to go and they go smoothly, you're just gonna have a much easier time.
Oh, definitely.
You really are. And before you know it, like, it was, I always enjoyed teaching classes, it was never like, oh, I can't wait for this to be done, but they would fly over when everything goes streamlined and as it should. They just fly over, they really do. And before you know it, you're on your cool down and see you later, see you next week, guys, sort of thing, but yeah, like we sort of opened up with this morning, these circuits can be fit into pretty much anybody's workout, regardless of what your goals are. I've heard people that are trying to put size on, say, and it was a habit that I fell into myself. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to put size on, I need extra calories. Doing cardio and burning calories is counterproductive, and that's totally the wrong idea to have. It was this idea of like, really, you need to eat more, just eat more, get them extra calories that you're going to burn, but let your body benefit from the benefit of cardiovascular exercise. Your heart and your lungs working and stuff like that. If it's a case of eat more, exercise more, eat less, exercise less, I'd be picking eat more, exercise more any day, really. Just because I like
a nice excuse, doesn't it?
Of course it does, buddy. But like I say, circuits, I would say that given the right structure and the right sort of focus, could be fit into nigh on anybody's training plan. Because even again, we talk about strength training, and that's hard to get in. Yes, we can't really do strength training in the circuit form, but how many powerlifters do need that cardiovascular fitness as well? We've talked before about people that are in the gym. They are strong enough to lift a weight, but they're so out of breath, they're just gassed. They're just absolutely gassed and they can't manage it. So even those guys need a bit of circuit training and a little bit of cardiovascular fitness training in there as well. So circuits is something that we could be thinking about, like I say, whether we're training at home, whether we're in the gym. Exactly, of course you can. It's just a case of circuit training can fit into pretty much anybody's training plan across the space of a week.
Yeah.
What your weekly routine looks like.
You can do a circuit at the end. You could go in and do some compound exercises like squats or whatever, and then do a circuit at the end if you want.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to go on for 40 minutes. It could be like a 10-minute, 15-minute circuit.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like an hour or whatever.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be a full fitness class worth. I used to when you think about it, like Tabata training that we've mentioned before, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off for 4 minutes. Yeah. It's a mini circuit. It's 8. Is it 8? It's been a while since I've done it now. Yeah, it's got to be two a minute. Yeah, it's 8 sets.
Yeah.
It's 8 sets that are done in sort of pretty much circuit form.
Yeah.
And I used to do that quite often as like a finisher. I'd be like, right, we've got these. Yeah. Even pick 2 different exercises. I'd have people doing like toe taps on a step for 20 seconds, rest for 10, and then for 20 seconds they're on the bag doing pad work as well. It's still circuit.
Sometimes I don't even do a timed one. It's just like, okay, I want to do 50 reps of this.
Yes.
But I don't want to do 50 reps off the belt. I'll do sets of 10 on 3 exercises in a row. Then I'll rest for 20 seconds. Then I'll go again and I'll do three sets of 10 on each of the exercises. back to
Oh,
back,
definitely.
and then rest and just do that till I've hit the certain amount. And
Yeah.
that to me is more enjoyable than just doing 5 sets of 10.
Oh,
And it's
definitely.
over
Yeah.
quicker as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like this idea of like, yeah, start high with your reps and just knock them off as and when
Yeah.
you can. Yeah. Yeah. Really, really, same again. Really interesting way to do it. Mix things up a little bit for yourself. And at the end of the day, you can pick whatever those exercises you want,
Yeah.
you know,
You work in
but
that cardio element as well, so it's good.
exactly, buddy, you know, and I do think that the old, Geordie Shore culture hasn't done any favors in this idea of look, we do need to look after the muscles that keep you ticking over, you know, not just the ones that you can flex
Yeah.
and look good in like a string vest, you know, at the end of the day. And that is where we've got to, like, it comes to that holistic approach, isn't it? We've got to be hitting
Definitely.
as many of these different components of fitness as we can, just to get like good all rounded training, you know,
Yeah.
keep you fit for longevity, which is the reason that most of us train, really, you
Yeah, I
know.
mean, you got, that's what you got to remember as well. Like you're
Yeah,
doing it to be healthy, not necessarily be competing or anything in any kind of
yeah,
sport or whatever. But that'll come anyway. The slow changes you make to get fitter, you'll get better at sport and general activities day to day. So especially with
absolutely,
something
buddy.
like
Yeah,
circuits, because you make yourself into like an all rounder, really.
yeah. Like you don't have a choice but to get naturally fitter.
Yeah.
Like even doing stuff like stretches and stuff like that, you might just be at the point where standing and doing a few different stretches back to back is going to bring your heart rate up. It's the same sort of thing. You're just not doing one and resting and doing one and resting. You're just getting your heart rate
Yeah.
up and helping it stay up, which is what 95% of us could do with, really,
Maybe
you
that
know?
walk turns into like a brisk walk, or maybe you run, or
Yeah,
maybe you get on the bike or the cross trainer,
exactly.
or even the treadmill and just walk uphill. And
Mhm.
it's not about, oh well, actually, I cannot walk up the stairs without losing my breath. To okay, I'm going to run a marathon. Like
Exactly. You
not.
know, thinking about your goals, thinking about how much you're asking of your body and how soon. That is always something that I would stress with people as well. You know, depending on what your time frame or your deadline or your window looks like, whatever it is. Like if you come to me and say, Rob, I'm getting married in 6 months, help. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, some people have to lose weight for health reasons as well. So that's the
Ex-
other thing, that they could have like
exactly.
a timed.
Yeah.
Look, you're not getting any better, and if you don't start losing weight, you're going to get seriously ill, sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. The way that somebody like that needs to start exercising and progress through exercising is going to be totally different to somebody else.
Oh,
You know,
100%.
So it is. It's thinking about where you are in your training, making it manageable but challenging, and just constantly refreshing that. You know, because as your body gets better, you get better. You need to set yourself higher targets. Your competition is always yourself, really. You know, your competition is always a bit of friendly competition between mates is no problem. Do you know what I mean? Like I know, I'm sure you'll have done it, buddy. Do you know what I mean? Like I've done it in the gym where it's like, well, you've curled them 16s. I'm curling them 16s as well. I'm doing it for sure. But
I'm
you know,
not really about that anymore. Like
nah.
I sharp learned that I'd rather focus on myself.
Yeah, that's how you get hurt and
Yeah.
do end up doing reps that aren't actually giving you the benefit that they want as well, you know. So yeah, thinking about where you are, where you're going with it, why are you training, and like I say, the time frame that you've got, because if you've got 3 months to lose 3 stone, be going for like a heart bypass surgery, your training is going to be totally different from someone who comes up to me and says, look, Rob, I just want to get a little bit fitter over time, you know, so I'm fitter when I'm older, I'm able to enjoy my retirement a little bit more. Like, okay, great, there's no deadline hanging over,
Plus,
like
you get all
doesn't have to be drastic.
yeah. There's all sorts of like things that you can do. Like you always say, it increases your bone density,
Mm-hmm.
cardio activity. It keeps you going. Basically, like we live
That's it.
a increasingly like sedentary lifestyle, but
Yeah,
basically we don't do enough
yeah,
compared to
like
like what we typically evolved to do. So the human body starts to just like break down, because it's just like, well, you're not doing the basics, and
mm-hmm.
it is literally the basics. All you have to do is like the basic amount of cardio. Walking
Yeah,
will do. If you
yeah,
can't really manage walking, there's loads of alternatives where you can get your heart rate up and running, and
yeah,
just
yeah,
making sure your muscles are stimulated. Like, doesn't have to be anything massive, but just lifting and moving weight increases your bones. Then if you fall over when you're older and all your life you've done bits and pieces of resistance, then your bones are a bit more resilient.
yeah. Yeah, definitely,
You won't,
buddy.
hopefully, you won't like break your hip when you fall over and stuff. And
Yeah,
that's what you
yeah,
do. And like you say, it's longevity and you're building for the future, really.
yeah. I would say that out of every 100 people I've ever met in the gym, one of them is planning on doing a physique show, a
Yeah,
bodybuilding, planning on doing anything with it really in like a professional sense or anything like that. Like most people, like you say, buddy, just want longevity and they want what they've got to work better and last longer.
yeah,
Like that's normally the case. So don't look at the front cover of Men's Health magazine and see I don't know, like Kai Green's bodybuilding split and
yeah.
think, right, I'm starting training this week. That's a good place for me to start. Do you know what I mean? Because it's absolutely not, but it's so easy to just see these things and say, oh, I'll give that a go without thinking about how suitable it really is for you, what you're training for. And like
Yeah,
where we always
aye.
come back to Phil, Ronnie Coleman, don't we? And the fact that his back is like essentially dust
Yeah.
now.
Well, it's just one fixed like bit of bone.
It is. And I'm sure he's got no complaints. He's made a living out of it. He's been the
Yeah,
best in the world.
it's
You
different,
think the
isn't it?
amount of people that do that to their bodies and never make it that far,
Yeah.
you know?
Or just do it to the body through like general work, like work day to day,
Yeah, yeah,
grinding down over like 30 years and never put anything right.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
It's just
Um,
a shame, but don't get carried away. Basically, with what your
yeah,
goals are. Like your goal can be just to feel better.
yeah, that's it.
Like I go
That's
to the
it.
gym and I train quite hard, but it's because I enjoy it. But you might not enjoy it so much, so you're going to keep yourself in good fettle really, and that's fine.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone's got their own goals, and
exactly.
your circuit should reflect that. You know what I mean? If you're not really fussed about increasing like the power through your legs and stuff, maybe don't do the 90 centimeter box jumps. Like you don't really need
Exactly.
to do them, and
Exactly.
unnecessary
Yeah,
strain on your ankles and your knees. Like
yeah. Oh, funny you say that actually, buddy, because the one that always has got me across the years that I'm always like, if you don't want to get better at this, why are you doing this?
yeah,
Is running. It's
yeah,
running.
oh definitely, mate.
Oh, mate, this idea that running on the treadmill is the only way to burn calories
It's
and burn.
actually like quite poor cardio running.
Yeah.
Unless you do a really long distance, slow paced, like I'm talking about like a 10K or and above, you're not
Hmm.
really burning that many calories,
No,
and
no.
you can't possibly run that quick either. So you're talking like, I mean, my best 10K time when I was in the peak running condition was 48 minutes, and that's
Nice.
48 minutes of
Yes.
running,
Hmm.
nothing but head like just facing that way, running in a straight, almost a straight line.
Every
And
single step, just
yeah,
like flap, 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 flap.
and if
Yeah.
you want to burn calories and get into that window, you can't even get your heart rate too high, so you can't even push it. You know,
Yeah.
you can't run at a decent pace. You've got to keep yourself where your heart rate's in like
Yeah.
130
Yeah.
in that little window, and it's
Yeah.
just monotonous. Like it really is. It
Yeah.
honestly, like
Yeah.
yeah,
And then
I
like
couldn't
you
agree
say,
more.
with your legs and your knees and stuff like that as well. And like I have seen people who are obviously not runners, no intention of running, certainly not outside, not even a whisper of doing like a half marathon, a race for life,
Yeah,
a color run, or anything like that. And 4 days a week, you see him pounding on the treadmill for like half an hour. And like those are the, like I've said before, those are the sort of people I go over and say, like, if you are just trying to lose weight and get a little bit of cardiovascular fitness,
yeah.
save your knees, ankles, and
Get
back,
on the
and
cross trainer.
just come with me right now. Come with me.
Yeah,
I'm going to show you some stuff. I'm not going to charge you anything at all.
yeah,
Like, do you know what I mean? I just want to help, but come with me, and I'm hopefully going to save your knees and ankles somewhere down the line as well. But like Hatham says, you know, think about what you're doing and if it even relates to your goals. You know, especially if it's stuff that you don't like doing or that is going to have like a little bit of wear and tear on
if
the
you
body
enjoy it though, I mean, do it.
unnecessarily.
Do you know what I
Oh,
mean? If you
absolutely,
like
yeah,
going out for a run and doing nothing but like some people, I know some people who do think I like to put my headphones in. I just like to run for like an hour.
yeah,
They might
yeah,
not even go for a distance. They just that's it. Okay, there's the hour. How far did I get? Oh, great.
yeah,
Or some
yeah,
people
nice one.
really like doing like all the more athletic power based stuff like the box jumps and the jump squats, and
Yeah, yeah,
they feel like they get a good workout from that. Good.
yeah,
If it's hurting you and you hate it, why are you doing it?
yeah, yeah,
Unless you're training for a marathon, or
yeah,
like you
yeah,
need to one of your goals is specifically to do like a weighted pull up or something like that. Like okay, fine, that's great. Then
yeah,
you go for it. You know, get yourself on the bar, and
yeah,
it'll be excruciating. Your hands will hurt, your elbows will hurt for a
yeah,
while, and you know, but you'll get there and you'll achieve it. And then you might think, actually, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I've done my marathon, or I've done me set of 10 pull-ups. Like, that's enough.
yeah,
I've hit my
yeah.
goal. I don't want to go any further. Or you might think, oh, well, I've done a marathon now. I want to do another one. Or
Yeah, I want to go from
uh,
there. Exactly, buddy. You know, so your training is always going to be changing, and what is right for you and your goals is always going to be changing depending on where you and your goals are at. You know, at the time, really.
you
You
can
know,
pretty much
so
do anything, right? If you just want to be fitter and healthier. Like, if you turn up to the gym and just do the basics, like you were saying, and get on the elliptical machine and just have a go. And
yeah, yeah, mate. I would go out and say you could get fitter by doing housework.
yeah,
Like, you really could. You really could. Like, we've been in lockdown obviously for over a year now. You think obviously we've got space, sort of like we up and down the stairs. That's going to burn calories. You've run the hoover around, get the duster out, all of that sort of thing. If you're pretty sedentary right now and don't do much of that sort of stuff, even doing that will start to just give you a little bit of an upturn. It really will. It really will, and then you'll get to the point where you might feel a little bit more comfortable going out and trying some of these other things, you know.
Oh, it's all confidence, mate.
Of course it is.
It's especially with like the your brain just working it out, and it just becomes second nature. Like at first, when you pick especially like anything with the bar, like the Olympic bar, it's just like, I haven't got, like, where are my hands supposed to be? I've
Yeah,
got my feet in the
yeah.
wrong position. Like my shoulders are either too far back or too far forward. Like
Mhm.
I'm dipping my head, like all sorts of stuff like that. And then once you've done it for a while and you've had a bit of instruction or you've done a bit of research, like you go in and you just do it. Like,
Muscle memory, isn't
yeah,
it? Muscle memory,
especially in
yeah.
the circuits, because your brain, you're so tired, your brain doesn't really work properly.
Yeah,
You're not getting enough
yeah, yeah.
oxygen up top, so you're just like sort of stumbling around the gym, and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
in a daze, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but you get there, and you become second nature, and you feel
Yeah,
better.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So lots to be said for circuits. I'm going to do one myself this afternoon. I think
Yeah,
I'm gonna get one done. And like I say, just don't need much kit. You know, get the resistance bands out, a little bit of body weight, and enjoy some of the sunshine as well. Maybe while we're out and about.
have a nice walk. A nice day for a walk.
Yeah,
I need to go
definitely.
buy some milk, so I'll probably walk to the shop and do that
Yeah, I might take
before the
some.
England game. That is, of
Yeah.
course, we've not mentioned it.
Oh, of course, England game tonight, isn't it?
Aye, so I'm skiving off after this for a half
Aye.
day. You see,
Oh,
so
nice,
I can get some
nice.
stuff done before the match, because they've
Yes.
awkwardly put it at a 5 p.m. kickoff.
Is it 5 p.m.? Is it, mate?
Yeah.
I've got to admit, I've watched no Euros yet.
Okay.
I've
No, I'm
watched
fine
no
with it.
Euros so far. All we do in the old sweepstake. We've got the sweepstake. I had really the Netherlands and France.
Yikes, that was a good pick pre-tournament as well, but
What can you do, mate? What can
fallen
you
to the
do?
underdogs, definitely.
I have a chronic talent of being able to pick the team that
The
won it
losers.
last time
Yeah.
that go on and have an absolute shocker. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll probably try and catch the match later on. It's against Germany, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gotta
So
watch that. Gotta watch
everyone
that.
take it easy and have a
Yeah.
good one.
I'm sure. Right, guys, that'll do us for today. Anyway, then. So, as you've seen on the screen there, we've got the homework, pages 2 to 5 in the tools and equipment for practical activity workbook, and start to make a plan on designing your own circuit cards. It doesn't have to be final design. Just start to get an idea, like we say, what exercises you're going to use, how you're going to lay it out, maybe even how you're going to lay out your cards and what you're going to have on there as well. As always, guys, please don't forget to fill in the survey, which is in the description
And the chat. Yep.
and the chat as well,
So
buddy.
is the
Awesome.
fitness video as well.
Yeah, cool. And of course, yeah, we've got a little fitness video to do today as well. As always, it's a home resistance circuit that I've actually put up this week, so that you can go on and see how a circuit can use some body weight stuff, and then some of the exercises is just using bits and bobs from around the house. You know, so like I'm using dumbbell, like a couple of tins of soup instead of dumbbells and stuff like that. Just add a little bit of resistance, like you say. It doesn't have to be amazing. It doesn't have to go crazy. But yeah, definitely check that out.
Empty
If you
water bottles, flasks, things like that.
that's it. You know, like I say,
Dare I say glass bottles, but be very careful.
yeah. I actually, because of the amount of squash that we go through, just in terms of trying to make water a little bit more enjoyable from time to time. If you're not really feeling it, just put a little squirt of cordial in. Who's it going to kill, really? At the end of the day, if you outweigh it against not drinking water and getting plenty of water for the day.
Drinks anyway.
Exactly, buddy. I'm forgetting where I was even going with that now.
Of squash.
Oh yes, yeah. One of them that we found last year had it came with a handle on it. It was a 2-litre bottle. Just fill that with water. Put as much water in that as you need to get the weight that you want it to be.
Or sand, hey, if you've got any sand because you've been doing any gardening or anything.
Yeah, I definitely.
Sand in there, that's heavy enough.
I should be using them bloody rocks that keep coming in from next door's garden. Yeah. We've got a little paving bit with loads of pebbles. And it kind of comes under our fence, and of course the dog just wants every single one of them.
Yeah.
So I've been picking them up, so I might start using them actually. But there's plenty you can do, plenty of stuff just from around the house. Definitely check out either that fitness video or use the link to take you to the playlist and check out some of the other fitness videos we've got up there as well. And unless you've got anything to add, buddy, that'll do us for the day then.
See you guys next week.
Spot on. So we'll be back next Tuesday. We'll be back at 10 o'clock. Hopefully England will still be in. Fingers crossed. Have a good day, guys.
Take it easy. As well, kind of
have a good week as well. Yeah. And I'll catch you guys later.
See you guys.